Chapter 1. Thank you for the invitation. I just crossed over, but I was caught right after getting off the vehicle. Bang, the bright, blinding incandescent light was turned on with a click. So dazzling Fong Jing squinted his eyes with difficulty, tilting his head, and slowly opened his eyes under the harsh light. In front of him was a strange room with mirrors on two sides and concrete walls. On the wall directly opposite him, the words confess for leniency, resist for severity were neatly and justly written in large characters. At the same time, two soldiers in dark green military uniforms, sitting up straight, were glaring at him from across the table. So, this is an interrogation room? What the hell is going on? Is this a bicycle or a total lost semi-trailer? This is insane. Fong Jing muttered quietly, looking back at the room, just as he was thinking about how to explain that he was knocked out by a bicycle and fainted. Hoping it would be believable, the glaring bright light was turned off. Are you awake? A gentle voice, sounding like a reliable neighbor, brought an inexplicable sense of safety. I'm awake. By the way, comrade, did I really need the armed forces to get involved just because I got hit by a bicycle? Fong Jing scratched his head, instinctively lowering embarrassing. As a college student new recruit who just completed his physical examination and is set to enlist in the autumn, he actually got knocked out by a bicycle, and now the armed forces are here to mediate. This is utterly humiliating. Oh no, in a new recruit camp, he'll definitely become the laughingstock of the entire company. Thinking about those dark days, Fong Jing felt a wave of dizziness. Oh, a bicycle could knock you into a military-restricted area? Tell me, who are you, and what is your purpose in approaching the 710 Institute? Fong Jing. Huh. What do you mean, what 710 Institute? Fong Jing felt that perhaps he wasn't waking up properly. Why didn't he understand what the comrade across from him was saying at all? The officer scrutinized Fong Jing with a strange gaze. That moment, bang. The door to the interrogation room was suddenly flung open. A soldier dressed in camouflage combat gear, wrapped in a pitch-black exoskeleton, hurriedly walked in holding a tablet. Captain, you have to see this. After handing the tablet to the officer, the soldier looked at Fong Jing with an even stranger expression. Exoskeleton, fully covered. Where do we get this thing? Fong Jing was astonished, his eyes filled with excitement and some confusion. He distinctly remembered that the country had just started equipping the logistics department with non-powered exoskeletons. Perhaps sensing the confusion in Fong Jing's eyes, the officer glanced at the tablet, his pupils suddenly constricting, his expression changing slightly. He suppressed his unease and smiled gently at Fong Jing. Let's not talk about that for now. Let's go through the procedures first. Don't be nervous. Oh, okay. Fong Jing thought it was just a normal procedure for registration, right? After speaking, the officer pointed to the large characters behind him and chuckled. What's your name? Fong Jing. What's your gender? Male. Occupation? I'm still studying. I'll enlist in the autumn and serve as a conscript for 2 years before continuing my studies. Oh, which graduating class? Which school? Considering the enlistment time, I'll graduate in the class of 2027 from Huazhong University of Science and Technology, studying applied physics. Crack. The soldier next to the officer, who was taking notes, suddenly squeezed the pen in his hand, producing a cracking sound. Then he looked at his watch with an expression as if he had seen a ghost. However, after glancing at his watch, his expression turned even graver. What's wrong? Fong Jing was puzzled. What was happening? Why did it feel like everyone he had seen since he woke up was acting strangely? Could they be frauds? Fong Jing felt a surge of caution. Fong Jing, right? Yes. Fong Jing looked suspiciously at the officer, feeling something was off. The officer closed his eyes, pinched his nose, took a deep breath, opened his eyes, looked deeply at Fong Jing, and suddenly whispered, "This year is 2036. What? Fong Jing was astonished, jumping up suddenly. This year is 2036. How is that possible? Are you sure you're not joking? Isn't this year 2023? Calm down, comrade. I'm not lying to you." The officer spoke with a strange tone, flipping the tablet over to face Fong Jing. Look, Zhou Weirong, that's my name. Fong Jing looked at the tablet in front of him, which clearly displayed year 2036. Moreover, we're not deceiving you, you indeed suddenly broke into a military-restricted area. Zhou Weirong then tapped the tablet slightly, and a video began to play. Fong Jing swallowed hard, his attention fully focused on the video. The video showed a dense forest, with the time in the upper left corner clearly stating September 23rd, 2036, 1623. The tranquility of the scene didn't last long, just 5 seconds in. Suddenly, Fong Jing appeared out of nowhere in the middle of the screen, lying on the ground. Yes, that's right, he appeared out of thin air. His Fong Jing gasped in shock, rubbing his eyes to confirm he wasn't seeing things. This was a huge mess. Who would have thought that just by submitting his enlistment materials to the armed forces and walking back to the station, getting hit by a bicycle would lead to this crossing over? In this day and age, even truck drivers are losing their jobs. Is there no justice left? So, may I ask what's going on? Did I cross over to the future? Who crosses over to the future only to land a little over a decade later? Fong Jing was mentally complaining, but he still maintained a cooperative demeanor. The issue lies here: we're not clear on your situation, or rather what you are. Zhou Weirong rubbed his eyes again in frustration, his expression conflicted. How to deal with Fong Jing, this unexpected visitor, was a big problem. We have already conducted a nationwide search based on the information you provided. Regrettably, we have found no trace of your existence. You may not have crossed over to the future, but rather, not crossed over to the future. Fong Jing understood that in modern society, everyone leaves traces online. It could be from a registration, or perhaps a census, but Zhou Weirong said there was no trace of him at all. That meant he hadn't just crossed time, he had crossed into a parallel universe. This was no longer the universe he lived in. Sorting through his thoughts, Fong Jing's mentality exploded in an instant. He had both parents, was studying at Huazhong University of Science and Technology, and his life was not perfect, but decent. How could he have suddenly crossed over? Can't the Crossing Bureau do something about this? This is a serious mistake. They sent the wrong person. I want to go back. Perhaps the agency truly heard Fong Jing's call from the depths of his heart, for just as this thought emerged in his mind, whoosh, in front of Zhou Weirong and another person. Just as suddenly as Fong Jing appeared, he vanished into thin air. What? What just happened? Zhou Weirong stood up abruptly, his face filled with shock and disbelief.
Chapter 2: How exhausting it is to work hard. I might as well just rely on it. Before him was a pure, warm, and bright world. Fong Jing felt light, as if he were floating on the surface of the water. Struggling to open his eyes, he vaguely saw a sleek machine suspended in this pristine world. Just as Fong Jing wanted to take a closer look at the machine, his body suddenly regained sensation. The solid feel of the ground made him open his eyes wide. I'm back. Fong Jing looked around and was delighted to see a street sign for a road nearby. He had returned. Not only had he crossed over, but he also inexplicably had gained some new memories in his mind. These were the operating rules for that machine. By recalling the images from earlier, he could activate the machine. This machine could take me across various multiverses and, after emitting a red light, could anchor a spatial gate. Setting up a spatial gate means forming a stable passageway. What a miraculous machine this is. Wait, does this mean I can travel back and forth? Fong Jing was momentarily stunned, feeling an indescribable thrill. The capabilities of this machine exceeded his understanding. Moreover, being able to create stable spatial passages. Was this the path to a united multiverse? Thinking of the all-encompassing exoskeleton he had just seen, Fong Jing couldn't help but feel greedy. If only he could bring this thing back to his own universe. Tap, tap, tap. Just as Fong Jing was lost in thought, a series of footsteps approached from a distance. Several soldiers in combat uniforms hurried towards where Fong Jing was standing. Comrade Fong Jing, I'm Chen Liming. The leading officer walked up to Fong Jing and shook his hand. Upon seeing these soldiers, Fong Jing noticed the surveillance camera on the streetlight pointing in their direction and suddenly realized that his unexpected disappearance had indeed attracted attention from above. These people were coming for him. You know what happened to you? Could you share your experience with us? Officer Chen Liming smiled gently, looking at Fong Jing with eyes full of inquiry. From his tone, it was clear this was not a command, but rather a request for his opinion. Such a tone naturally made Fong Jing feel favorably disposed. Truly, as expected of soldiers, their attitude was refreshing. Okay, but can I take a moment? It's fine. Let us go to a familiar place, the office of the armed forces. Didn't you just submit some materials there? They have hot water. Maybe I can get you a cup. Chen Liming spoke in a gentle manner, even making a little joke. Special arrangements for special cases. For someone who is already determined to join the military and has awareness, it is natural to use an appropriate approach. Moreover, disappearing without a trace is truly alarming. I happen to be a bit thirsty. Please do get me a cup. After hesitating for a moment, Fong Jing smiled and nodded in agreement. Given the characteristics of this special ability and his identity, there was no reason not to cooperate with the military. Moreover, he has been displeased with that white-headed eagle across the ocean for a long time. Hasn't he forgotten that the wish he made to his elder brother was to burn that eagle in his honor? Now, there is no need to toil for 50 years. The opportunity to overtake has arrived. An old saying goes, regardless of whether it's a black cat or a white cat, a cat that catches mice is a good cat. So, no matter what this machine is, as long as it can truly promote the development of our nation, it's a good thing. Well then, let us get on board. Chen Liming nodded, watching Fong Jing's gaze gradually firm up, secretly breathing a sigh of relief, and signaled for the military vehicle to be brought over. After picking up Fong Jing, the group headed straight for the armed department. Are you saying that machine can let you travel across dimensions? Chen Liming's teacup trembled violently in his hand, almost slipping from his grasp. He stared at Fong Jing in shock, repeatedly confirming in disbelief. That's right. I suspect it's a crossing into a parallel universe of our nation, where the technology is more advanced, and I should have landed in a military-restricted area, where soldiers are equipped with exoskeletons. A parallel universe, our nation. Chen Limin's grip on the teacup tightened, and his eyes began to narrow. Commander Chen, so I think. If the technology over there is indeed more advanced, can we? Fang Jing felt a surge of excitement and confidently explained, it's still our nation. I noticed that military personnel named Zhou Weirong had a decent attitude, and I think this is our opportunity. An astonishing idea formed in his mind. If we could collaborate with the other nation and obtain technology from 2036, the advancements over a decade could be transformative. If we succeed, our nation in this universe will soar to new heights. After a century of weakness, our nation has so much to catch up on. The embassy, the galaxy incident, 81192. Various national pains surfaced in Fang Jing's mind. As a passionate patriot, now that there's a chance, he naturally wants to deal with that white-headed eagle, eradicating the malignant tumor and liberating the world. I understand your meaning. This matter is significant, and I need to report it immediately. Chen Limin set down his teacup, exhaled, and reminded Fang Jing, wait for my notification, don't act impulsively. The situation on the other side is still unknown. Your safety is paramount. Remember, even if you do nothing, surpassing the other side is just a matter of time. Leaving behind this powerful statement, he opened the door and hurriedly left, even forgetting to close it behind him. Chen Limin's final words warmed Fang Jing's heart. Only those dedicated to the people can express such sentiments. And in a few months, he would also proudly become one of them. However, fate is unpredictable. Since the moment he was struck by that bicycle, the wheels of destiny began to turn slowly. Yet this time, fortune lies in the east, and the national fortune is also in the east. The 5 stars rise from the east, benefiting our nation. Just as Fang Jing was waiting for Chen Limin in the office, in a place unseen by him, the terrifying machinery of the state was slowly gearing up in the armed department. Chen Limin arrived at an underground chamber of the Armed Forces Department. After verifying his iris, fingerprints, and DNA information, he entered a small room. The room was quite empty, containing only an old rotary phone. He walked slowly to the phone and began to dial. Click, click, click. The call connected, but there was no sound on the other end. Chen Limin was not surprised and spoke to himself. National Security Office, Henan Province. Chen Limin, confidentiality number, 256XXXX, receiving information, distributing keys, capital city. After the voice print verification, the key was confirmed as MZ45XXX, and the satellite connection was established. Beep. This is Zhu Jincheng, Comrade Chen Limin, please speak. Old Zhu, the documents should have arrived in the capital city by now, containing a video and 2 documents. Please review them and give your instructions as soon as possible. Chen Limin calculated the time. The videotape of the surveillance footage should have been delivered already. A fighter jet, supersonic cruising, wouldn't take long from here to the capital. Oh, Henan Province sent it urgently. Was it delivered by a fighter jet? What is going on? Such a big commotion. Even the top brass called to ask what you're doing? The tone on the other end turned serious. Flying fighter jets over the capital and conducting air blasts. Has national security discovered someone stealing a hydrogen bomb? Old Zhu, please take a look quickly. Chen Limin's tone was somewhat anxious. Zhu Jincheng sensed Chen Limin's urgency, and his expression became serious. He believed that national security wouldn't make a fuss over trivial matters. If they acted this way, something significant must have occurred. He opened the file bag that the guard had rushed over. Just seeing the first page of the document made his pupils constrict sharply. His voice trembled, and his hands shook as he gripped the paper tightly. Unable to believe his eyes. Is this real? Is this possible? Chapter 3. Seizing the Opportunity. The concept of a multiverse in Huagua. The sound of helicopter blades grew louder as a military green helicopter slowly approached the armed forces playground in the outskirts of Henan Province. After the helicopter landed, the sliding door was swiftly opened, and an elderly figure, somewhat stooped and frail, hurriedly descended from the aircraft. Chen Limin, who had been waiting at the playground, immediately stepped forward to support the old man. Old Zhu, why did you come in person? I had to come and see for myself. Some things must be witnessed firsthand. Zhu Jincheng called out loudly over the noise of the rotor blades while looking around. Limin, where's the person? Where are they? In the office, Old Zhu, let me show you. Chen Limin, seeing the old man's anxiety, did not delay and quickly assisted him towards the armed forces building. Limin, how is Fang Jing? On the way, Zhu Jincheng, a high-ranking official, surprisingly felt a hint of nervousness. Rest assured, Old Zhu, Fang Jing is a young man with awareness. If you can show just a fraction of your charm, he will definitely be compliant. Chen Limin confidently assured Zhu Jincheng. Is that true? Zhu Jincheng let out a breath, calming the excitement in his heart. The two had arrived at the entrance of the armed forces office. Inside, Fang Jing was writing something on paper when he suddenly heard footsteps outside and quickly looked up. To his surprise, he was startled and stood up immediately, looking at the elderly man who had entered with Chen Limin with a mixture of confusion and respect, asking, "Are you Zhu Jincheng, the esteemed elder?" Fang Jing was astonished. He had anticipated that the military would send someone important upon receiving the news, but he never expected such a legendary figure to arrive. Zhu Jincheng, 88 years old, was not only a veteran who had experienced several battles, but also an undeniable founding figure of the country, one of its creators. He couldn't believe that the elder had personally come. That's right, I am Zhu Jincheng. Ha ha. I didn't expect there would still be young people who remember me. Zhu Jincheng said, looking Fang Jing up and down, nodding slightly, and bursting into hearty laughter. Zhu Elder, how could anyone not know you? Fang Jing admitted, feeling nervous. He rubbed his hands together to calm his excitement of meeting his idol, and quickly added with a smile, I just didn't expect it would be you who came. This matter of yours is quite significant. It deserves to be recorded in history, and I can't help but pay attention to it, Zhu Jincheng said. Seemingly understanding Fang Jing's character and becoming more amiable, he sat down beside Fang Jing, patted his shoulder like a kindly old man, and asked warmly, let's not talk too much about this. The more we say, the more mistakes we make. To avoid misunderstandings, why don't you go ahead and share your thoughts, Xiaofang? Zhu Jincheng did not take direct control of the situation. He had heard professional analyses on the way here and knew that this young man was quite perceptive. Since everything he was doing would benefit the country, he thought it would be fine to let him express his views. My thoughts. Fang Jing slightly closed his eyes and took a moment before suddenly opening them, looking firmly at Zhu Jincheng. Zhu Elder, to be honest, you are my idol, including you. The older generation has shouldered the responsibility for the stable lives we enjoy today. However, after a century of weakness, we have too much to catch up on. If we want to defeat our adversary head-on, it will take at least several decades. Several decades. Should we really allow ourselves to be bullied for that long? Fang Jing's voice was sincere, trembling slightly as he spoke. I was born in 2001, and I became fascinated with military equipment after graduating from elementary school. Do you know that when I learned about the number of aircraft carriers and military technology of our adversary, and the overwhelming Gulf War, I felt nothing but suffocation and despair? There was a time when even the original 88 fleet was an unreachable existence for us. I think of the embassy that was mistakenly struck by 2 precision-guided missiles. I think of the crew of the Galaxy who were trapped by enemy warships and could only eat their belts. I think of the brave defenders during the collision incident. My heart burns with anger. This is a world where the weak are preyed upon by the strong. The enemy is a cunning vulture, always watching you, waiting for you to let your guard down, to deliver a fatal blow. Fang Jing felt an unprecedented determination in his heart, and he almost roared from his throat. This is our opportunity. As long as we seize this chance, the future will be ours. With this machine, we can actively communicate with the great university in the multiverse, exchange technology, and seek development. This is my idea. He wanted to completely pin this vulture down to the ground, making it impossible for anyone to covet us again. After Fang Jing finished speaking, Zhu Jincheng and Chen Limin fell silent. After a long while, Elder Zhu looked at Fang Jing with appreciation, gently nodded, and smiled. Hearing your heartfelt words, I too have many sentiments. However, exploring the other side requires you to take the lead. Do you understand the dangers involved? Elder Zhu quietly looked at Fang Jing, not rejecting his proposal, but merely raising his concerns. I understand, but I still have to go. I can't suppress my curiosity. Fang Jing smiled helplessly, knowing himself well enough. Since I will have to go eventually, it would be better to bring the goodwill of our universe with me, thus providing myself with some assurance. Moreover, being backed by a powerful ally is advantageous. With the military's involvement in this matter, he wouldn't have to worry about logistical issues. Yes, I understand your point. Zhu Jincheng nodded slightly. The office fell silent, an eerie quietness enveloping the room. Fang Jing sat on the sofa, patiently waiting for Elder Zhu to make up his mind. After a while, Elder Zhu chuckled softly. I underestimated the determination of you young people. We old folks only think about crawling and washing away the humiliation of our homeland. Unknowingly, we have aged, and you young people are ready to take over. Looking up at the sky and reflecting for a moment, Zhu Jincheng suddenly turned his head, looking firmly at Fang Jing and Chen Limin. I agree with Xiaofang's opinion. I will organize this into a document and report it. So, today is July 23, 2023, regarding the anomalies surrounding Xiaofang and the research plan for parallel universe worlds. We will keep this confidential and refer to it as Project 237. The older generation acts decisively. After making up his mind, Zhu Jincheng gave Chen Limin a few more instructions. After bidding farewell to the two, he immediately set off to prepare for a meeting with higher-ups. Thus, in the early hours of the next day in Yanjing, a plan classified as top secret, with a permanent confidentiality term, officially commenced. Project 237 began its implementation. On the same day, intelligence systems of certain foreign entities and alliances in this country collectively severed communication. The Western influence in this nation was completely cut off. Meanwhile, in a foreign country, WTF, what has gotten into the rabbits? What is going on? Chapter 4. The team takes shape, a reliable partner added Comrade Fang Jing. We are almost there. Chen Limin shook Fang Jing awake, who had fallen asleep in the helicopter. We are almost there. Fang Jing shook his head, opened his eyes sleepily. Since the plan was issued, all informed individuals regarding the unusual situation with Fang Jing will be transferred to a certain secret military base in the northwest of a country. This base, known as the Underground Great Wall, is situated here, targeting hydrogen bomb launch silos in a certain capital. It is the most confidential base in the nation. Indeed, Comrade Fang Jing, your choice to serve your country and the people is significant, but it will be tough for you from now on. Upon hearing Fang Jing's decision to assist in the exploration, Chen Limin felt a sense of admiration for him. Living under a false identity is destined to be a hard task. What hardships can there be? Have the veteran scientists who have worked in the nuclear field for decades ever complained? Facing Chun Li-min's sentiment, Fang Jing simply shook his head and smiled lightly, saying, moreover, I am working for the welfare of everyone. Even if my parents knew, they would definitely support me wholeheartedly. Fang Jing's father is a veteran of the Vietnam War, and his grandfather fought in the Korean War. This family background has shaped Fang Jing's military aspirations. If his family were to learn of his choice, they would likely feel proud of him. Good lad. Chun Li-min quietly looked into Fang Jing's eyes, and a trace of sadness and reminiscence suddenly appeared in his gaze. What's wrong, Chun-gu? As the helicopter descended slowly, Fang Jing looked at Chun Li-min, who seemed somewhat unusual. It's nothing. I just recalled an old classmate of mine who was once full of vitality and hope, as you are now, as if all difficulties were insignificant in his eyes. Chun Li-min shook his head, a wry smile forming on his lips. And then, what happened to your old classmate? He sacrificed himself. All right. Let us not talk about such ominous things. Young man, I hope you always maintain this energy. Chun Li-min picked up his luggage, patted Fang Jing on the shoulder, and laughed. We've arrived. The helicopter landed with a thud. They had reached the base. The secret base is vast, divided into above-ground and underground sections. Fang Jing has been granted significant authority, as he can access both sections except for the launch silos and control room. Additionally, only the soldiers in the underground Great Wall section have been informed about Fang Jing's situation. Due to the nature of their work, these soldiers are destined to live under false identities and keep secrets. They are absolutely trustworthy and would willingly sacrifice their lives for these secrets. Comrade Fang Jing, I will be responsible for handing things over to you next. A stern-looking officer in combat uniform, with a square face and a serious demeanor, introduced himself beside Fang Jing. Fang Jing, however, was left in awe. The secrets contained within the base overwhelmed him. The military's secretly developed experimental devices, the covert initiation of certain projects, and research on advanced weaponry. No wonder Chun Li-min confidently assured Fang Jing not to worry. This is the foundation of the country's strength. My name is Zhao Guangyao, and I am the liaison for Project 237, equivalent to your logistics personnel. Zhao Guangyao's voice brought Fang Jing back to his senses. Oh, Colonel Zhao, what should I do next? I'll take the liberty to call you Xiao Fang. Zhao Guangyao, a typical military man, laughed heartily and explained, to be honest, when I first saw the 237 plan, I thought it was a joke from old Zhu. This made Fang Jing and Chun Li-min chuckle, easing the tension in the atmosphere. Zhao Guangyao continued, Comrade Fang Jing, what you urgently need now is to learn, not just combat, but also survival and first aid knowledge. Exploring the other side cannot be rushed. Fortunately, you've already been to Universe Number 1, and according to what you said, their attitude is relatively gentle. After we train you, we can attempt contact. With that, Zhao Guangyao clapped his hands. Hearing the sound, 5 individuals walked around the corner from the hallway, 4 men and 1 woman. If I'm your logistics personnel, then these folks are your team members. Please introduce yourselves. Sniper, Li Tianming, responsible for your wilderness survival training. The not-so-tall Li Tianming, dressed in camouflage and sporting a sunny smile, nodded gently. Assaulter, Zhou Yuan, responsible for your firearms training. A burly man in a bulletproof vest, with 2 standard bulletproof plates inserted, laughed heartily. Demolitions expert, Chung Su, responsible for your training in making and using explosives. Chung Su, tall but somewhat slender, looked curiously at Fang Jing. Medic, Sun Wang, responsible for your first aid training. Sun Wang, carrying a large backpack and wearing a Red Cross armband on his right arm, smiled and gestured to Fang Jing. When it was the woman's turn, she awkwardly fixed her hair, looking as if she'd just eaten a fly. Well, with such a consistent format from the first 4, how am I supposed to follow that? I'm not some expert or technician. I'm just a doctor. I stole a glance at Zhao Guangyao as the woman rolled her eyes, helplessly cleared her throat, and introduced herself formally. Wu Shi, I will be your doctor, responsible for monitoring your health changes. Fang Jing couldn't help but chuckle at this scene. Sister, are you here just to break the formation? Once everyone finished introducing themselves, all eyes turned to Fang Jing. Huh. After a moment of hesitation, Fang Jing responded with a smile, introducing himself. Fang Jing, university student, and soon to be your student. He then glanced at Wu Shi, grinning and joking, or maybe your patient. Haha. A small joke instantly lightened the atmosphere, and the distance between them shrank significantly. In any case, moving forward, everyone should take care of each other. Fang Jing's team was formed, and next came his week of rigorous training. Li Tianming and the others took his training very seriously, and it wasn't going to be easy. Fang Jing had no complaints about this. After all, it was about his safety, and he couldn't afford to be careless. Fortunately, due to his father and grandfather, he had always placed great importance on physical fitness from a young age. Therefore, the training did not defeat him. Instead, it was his incredibly fast learning speed that astonished several temporary instructors. After the week of intense training, Fang Jing finally decided to go to the first universe for a serious discussion. The alarm rang, and the plan was about to commence. Chapter 5, Different Universes. Same civilization. The 237 plan is divided into 3 parts: the research team, the logistics department, and the execution department. The research team is responsible for research and strategizing, while the logistics team manages logistical control. The execution department, centered around Fang Jing, primarily assists him in his tasks. As the plan began, everyone gathered in the office of the underground base. Currently, The site of the 237 plan occupies an expanded underground structure. The new building is spacious and well-equipped, allowing Fang Jing and the others to move in effortlessly. Are you ready? Zhao Guangyao asked, feeling a slight thrill as he looked at Fang Jing, who was fully equipped. Ready. Let's head to the sterilization room. Fang Jing nodded, fully prepared. All right, let's go. The future of our nation relies on you. Zhao Guangyao clapped Fang Jing on the shoulder and said nothing more. Everything was understood without words. The warriors in the entire Shishan base were fighting for the future of their nation. I will bring back good news. With determination, Fang Jing stepped into the sterilization room. The sterilization room is one of the largest spaces in the base, equipped with a complete set of 4A biological laboratory safety protection systems. After completing the sterilization, Fang Jing entered and was surprised to find a document quietly placed on the cabinet to his left. This was a document personally approved by the first one. If the other side truly represents goodwill, they would understand upon receiving it. Zhao Guangyao's voice echoed from the loudspeaker, wishing Comrade a smooth journey. The document from the first one. Fang Jing felt a surge of excitement. It turned out that the higher-ups had been following this matter all along. Clenching his fists, Fang Jing's gaze turned resolute. He would not let them down. Recalling the machine he saw in the pure white space, he soon saw it materialize before his eyes. This time, it was more detailed. Fang Jing clearly observed a small black dot appearing on the machine. Was that the first universe? Concentrating on that small black dot, Fang Jing vanished from his spot. It was truly astonishing. Who would have thought this was real? Zhao Guangyao and the others in the monitoring room watched in shock as Fang Jing disappeared in an instant, causing them to jump up in surprise. Li Tianming, Wu Shi, and others gasped in astonishment, exclaiming in wonder. The vast world is indeed full of surprises. Our opportunity has truly arrived. I heard that the soldiers on the other side are wearing full exoskeletons. Zhou Yuan, straightforward as ever, thought of the exoskeleton and imagined himself wearing one. His eyes shining with excitement. I hope he succeeds. If he has exoskeleton armor, he might be able to charge forward with a heavy machine gun. The thought of that scene made Zhou Yuan drool with envy. Exoskeletons and mechas. Now that is the romance of a man. Cosmos 1, the research facility, room 710. It has been a week since the unusual incident occurred. Zhou Weirong, who is in charge of the matter, returns to the interrogation room every day to sit for a while. Today is no exception. He sits in his spot, staring blankly at the empty chair across from him. Captain, are you waiting here again today? A team member passing by the interrogation room sees Zhou Weirong and comes in to greet him. Yes, he disappeared from here. Maybe he will come back the same way. Zhou Weirong nods in response to the team member. That shouldn't be possible. This is all about spatial technology. Changing positions should be easy, right? The team member chuckles bitterly and scratches his head. If only he could help us. With spatial and temporal technology, moving should be simple. Not necessarily. He might be confused and not even know how he crossed over. Zhou Weirong has no such expectations. Given the other party's situation, it's clear that he is unaware of what is happening. The elder Zhou also inquired about this matter and specifically instructed room 710 that all equipment must be disconnected from the internet. Mentioning elder Zhou, Zhou Weirong's brow relaxes. And he doesn't say much, falling into a few moments of silence. The atmosphere in the interrogation room grows quiet. Captain, I'll head out first. The team member, feeling a bit awkward, starts to excuse himself. Officer Zhou, hello, we meet again. A familiar voice reaches their ears from across the room. Fang Jing. Zhou Weirong suddenly turns his head, his pupils constricting. Sure enough, Fang Jing is sitting across from him, fully armed in a bulletproof vest. He changed positions. The ability to move and transmit locations is something Fang Jing learned after interacting with that machine earlier. With this capability, his chances of survival have significantly increased. At least he doesn't have to worry about being cornered. Officer Zhou, how long has it been since I passed through? Fang Jing also didn't expect Zhou Weirong to still be waiting for him. So the flow rates on both sides are completely different? It's been a week. What exactly is going on? Zhou Weirong exhales, pushing aside a teammate who instinctively reaches for a weapon. His tone gentle, as if he were an old friend not seen for a while. It's been a week for me too. It seems like the time flow on both sides is the same. Fang Jing mutters, glancing at Zhou Weirong, who is listening intently, and chuckles. Bring someone you can talk to. I have something for him. As he speaks, Fang Jing raises the yellow document bag in his hand. What is this? Zhou Weirong feels a bit puzzled. He is curious about the change in Fang Jing's attitude. The first time he met Fang Jing, he was confused. Why has he become so confident in just 7 days? This is a document personally issued by number 1. Fang Jing's confidence stems from the powerful country backing him. Number 1, which number 1? Zhou Weirong realizes something, his eyes widening in shock. Could it be? Of course, it's the number 1 from our world. How about that? Is he qualified to be invited over? Fang Jing smirks, his eyes fixed on Zhou Weirong, eager to see his reaction. Hearing the name of the country he had protected for over 20 years come out of the mouth of a traveler, Zhou Weirong realized something. His pupils dilating sharply as he suddenly stood up. Fang Jing was not looking for this reaction. It was only when he saw Zhou Weirong's vigilance dissipate somewhat upon hearing the name, and his expression become more gentle, that he felt completely at ease. I understand what you mean. Xiaozhou, go fetch some food to properly host Comrade Fang Jing. This was the first time Zhou Weirong addressed Fang Jing with the term comrade. Upon hearing this word, a knowing smile appeared on Fang Jing's face, and he performed a mock military salute, solemnly saying, Comrade Zhou Weirong, this matter is of great importance. I'll leave it to you. Don't worry. Zhou Weirong understood Fang Jing's gesture and returned the salute. At the same time, a genuine smile emerged from his heart. Two individuals from different worlds, united by the same country and culture, stood firmly together because of the word comrade. Chapter 6. Is this the Wandering Earth? Fang Jing reappeared, holding a document personally issued by the leader of the otherworldly country. The news spread quickly, immediately drawing attention from the relevant authorities. Soon, a helicopter arrived outside the base of the 710 Institute. An elderly man, clad in a traditional suit, with a weathered face and deep-set eyes that seemed capable of seeing through people's hearts, was slowly assisted off the aircraft by Zhou Weirong. Xiaorong, are you getting used to life at the 710 Institute? Father, yes, I'm adjusting. How has everything been at the United Nations lately? Zhou Weirong looked at his aging father, feeling a pang of sorrow. The heavy burden now rested on this elderly man, causing him deep pain as a son. Same as always, bickering back and forth, never ending. The elder waved his hand, growing somewhat agitated at the mention of the United Nations. Father, the digital faction is very active. Comrades from the intelligence sector have received information indicating they pose a threat to the United Nations. You, Zhou Weirong's tone paused, a flicker of worry crossing his eyes as he spoke with difficulty. You must pay attention to your safety over there. All right, let us not talk about those distressing matters anymore. Let us discuss that young man you mentioned, Fang Jing. The elder waved his hand, signaling Zhou Weirong not to worry. He chuckled lightly, and then asked, so, this young man, as you said, is quite good? Yes, but the whole situation is still hard for me to believe. Zhou Weirong thought of Fang Jing, who had appeared like a ghost, and then vanished just as mysteriously, feeling some apprehension. He was unclear about the other party's origins and intentions. Not knowing anything is the source of fear in people's hearts. I came here to eliminate the unknown. The elder spoke earnestly to Zhou Weirong, gazing at the old white-green buildings in the distance of the 710 Institute, murmuring, moreover, there have been more than one unknown incidents occurring here. Father, what do you mean? The elder's last sentence was spoken very softly, causing Zhou Weirong to frown and quickly inquire. Nothing, just take me to meet that young man. Recalling his earlier thoughts, the elder shook his head and smiled slightly. Yes, father. Zhou Weirong felt a sense of sadness in his heart. Once again, that smile appeared, and he knew that the old man had been harboring a secret for the sake of this country and the world. Now, this secret might become two. In the interrogation room of the facility, Fang Jing had not eaten anything. After Zhou Weirong left, Fang Jing immediately sat down beside the soldier who remained there. Indeed, the soldier left here was the one wearing the full-body exoskeleton armor. Excuse me, what is your name? Fang Jing reached out to touch the sleek, sci-fi black exoskeleton. However, the soldier, feeling nervous, quickly stepped back and looked at him warily. My name is Zhou Daoyan. You must be Fang Jing, right? Please be patient and wait for the captain to return. The young soldier's expression was tense, and his speech was somewhat awkward. He didn't want to offend Fang Jing, but he also didn't want Fang Jing to think he was being rude. There's no need to be nervous. I'm just asking casually. Fang Jing didn't pay much attention to these details. His eyes were almost fixed on the exoskeleton armor. Yes, it runs on batteries. Do you wear this exoskeleton all day long? That's right. Zhou Daoyan noticed Fang Jing's intense gaze and swallowed hard. This guy wouldn't be questioning his orientation, would he? Thinking of this, he tightened up and looked at Fang Jing with even more tension. How often do you recharge it? Hearing that it was worn all day, Fang Jing's eyes burned with even greater enthusiasm. Once a week during operations and twice a week during regular use. This information wasn't classified, so Zhou Daoyan spoke without pressure. 2 weeks. Fang Jing was shocked. It was known that the all-encompassing exoskeleton in this universe worked for only 2 hours. Therefore, the battery capacity of the first universe was 168 times that of this universe. Hiss. Fang Jing inhaled sharply. Even if they only obtained this battery technology, it would be a tremendous success for the nation in this universe. A battery with over 168 times the storage capacity would bring about earth-shattering changes. Yes, 2 weeks. But there is supposedly an even stronger battery used in the central shaft of a space elevator. Seeing Fang Jing's astonished expression, Zhou Daoyan's face showed a hint of pride as he prepared to introduce this battery in detail. But when he looked up, he saw Fang Jing standing there in shock. A space elevator? A space elevator. Fang Jing suddenly looked up, as if enchanted, mumbling repeatedly. Then, excitedly, he grabbed Zhou Daoyan's hand, his eyes burning with eagerness as he asked, You mean you have a space elevator? Hey, keep your distance. Zhou Daoyan felt goosebumps from Fang Jing's grip and quickly struggled to back away. Meanwhile, Fang Jing was still immersed in his excitement. Wow. He had underestimated the technological strength of the nation in the first universe. They had actually developed a space elevator. There was no need for further discussion. The appearance of the space elevator made their technological prowess unquestionable and indisputable. One word, powerful. At this moment, the door of the interrogation room slowly opened. Zhou Weirong entered with the elderly gentleman, looking somewhat surprised as he walked in. Why was Xiao Zhou sitting so far away? Director Zhou, you're finally back. Fang Jing, hiding his excitement, looked at Zhou Weirong with eager eyes. After getting a rough idea of the technological strength of the first universe, he became even more enthusiastic. Let me introduce you. This is Zhou Zeshtu. He can take care of your matters. Zhou Weirong glanced curiously at the elderly gentleman beside him and introduced him with great formality. Father, this is Fang Jing. A gentle smile appeared on Zhou Zeshtar's face as he extended his hand towards Fang Jing, saying, I'll be informal and call you Xiao Fang. Didn't you bring a document? Can I take a look? Fang Jing was momentarily stunned. When he saw Zhou Zeshtar, he was completely taken aback. Upon hearing his name, he felt a shock within. Zhou Zeshtar, isn't he the representative of Huagua at the United Nations in the Wandering Earth too? So, is this place really the universe of the Wandering Earth? Realizing this possibility, Fang Jing licked his dry lips and stared intently at Zhou Zeshtar. The elderly gentleman in a Zhongshan suit, feeling an increasing sense of familiarity. What's wrong, Xiao Fang? Seeing that Fang Jing had handed over the document, Zhou Zeshtar's eyes flashed with confusion. He noticed that this person named Fang Jing had been in a state of shock after hearing his name. He has heard my name. With narrowed eyes, the elderly man started to have his own thoughts. Oh, Zhou Lao, the document is right here. Please have a look. Fang Jing suppressed his shock and planned to ask his questions after Zhou Zeshtar had reviewed the document. Could it really be the universe of the Wandering Earth? Chapter 7. Exoskeleton technology in hand. In the interrogation room of the 710 Institute of the First Universe, Zhou Zeshtar took the document handed over by Fang Jing, unsealed it, and began to read it carefully. He read slowly and attentively. By the end, his hands began to tremble. Is this actually real? Zhou Zeshtar looked up in disbelief. His gaze towards Fang Jing filled with warmth. Director Zhou, I believe the document from the First Universe has made it very clear. We need. As Fang Jing saw Zhou Zeshtar, he unconsciously thought of the elderly gentleman, making his tone increasingly respectful. Shoo. Zhou Zeshtar suddenly made a gesture for silence, signaling Fang Jing not to continue speaking. I understand your intentions. I will discuss this with others when I return. Zhou Zeshtar was obviously very pleased, but he suppressed it well, showing no signs of it. He pressed his hand down, smiled kindly, and explained to Fang Jing earnestly, I am very welcoming of you. After I report to the higher-ups, I will also prepare a document for you. So, shall we set a time? Is the flow of time the same on both sides? It is the same. Fang Jing observed Zhou Zeshtar's cautious demeanor, pondering deeply and refrained from asking further questions. He almost forgot that if this truly is the world of the Wandering Earth too, then Moss, the artificial intelligence hidden behind the world, must also exist. That's good. Then let's meet again in a week. Before that, I think we should clean up the house. After saying this, Zhou Zhejiang let out a chuckle and slowly added, make sure to clean the house properly before receiving guests. It seemed he noticed Fang Jing's gaze wandering towards Zhaoyan. After pondering for a moment, Zhou Zhejiang pointed to his son and instructed, Ronger, go and package the entire set of technology for the Aosha exoskeleton, including the supply chain information, and give our guest a copy. After that, Zhou Zhejiang, who was in control of the situation, turned to Fang Jing with a gentle smile and a slight nod. I think this gift is sufficient, right? Enough, completely enough. Fang Jing was overjoyed. Without any effort, he obtained the complete exoskeleton technology and even the supply chain information. This was crucial information. After going back, he could verify the baseline data, and if everything was correct, he could directly start the production line. This was a significant gift. In that instant, Fang Jing's admiration for Zhou Zhejiang soared again. This kind of boldness, vision, and courage truly befits a heroic figure. Haha, it seems you're quite satisfied. That's good, Zhou Zhejiang remarked, noticing Fang Jing's smile stretching almost to his ears. What's wrong, Rong? Aren't you going yet? Oh yes. Zhou Weirong was momentarily stunned, then quickly turned and left. Xiao Fang, do you mind if I chat with you for a bit? After Zhou Weirong left, Zhou Lao casually sat down next to Fang Jing, a smile on his face. No problem, Zhou Lao, go ahead. Fang Jing, curious, wanted to explore whether this was truly the world of the Wandering Earth too. Our people here were living quite well, and perhaps in a few decades, we would enter an era of interstellar development. However, unfortunately, in the 1970s, our scientists discovered something unbelievable and unwilling to believe. Zhou Zhejiang sighed, a hint of nostalgia flashing in his eyes. The sun is rapidly aging and will undergo a helium flash within 100 years. At that time, everything within the orbit of Jupiter will be swallowed by the sun, and our world has already entered a desperate situation. It truly is the Wandering Earth too. Fang Jing felt a surge of certainty in his heart. This was precisely the content of the Wandering Earth 2, which had just premiered this spring festival. He had crossed into a parallel universe through that machine, and it turned out to be the Wandering Earth 2. This was utterly absurd. What Zhou Zhejiang said next was just as depicted in the film. Humanity had sensed the looming crisis and was seeking survival. Currently, although the mountain-moving plan held the advantage, the spaceship faction and the digital faction were still active. Your arrival might represent another opportunity. Much like the mysterious prophecy that emerged here in the 1970s. With a tone of nostalgia, he informed Fang Jing about the basic situation of this world. Unsurprisingly, Fang Jing was left in shock. Seeing this scene, Zhou Zhejiang ceased speaking and paused. However, he misunderstood. Fang Jing was not shocked by the dire straits of this world, but rather by the entire world itself. The atmosphere in the interrogation room fell silent. After a while, Zhou Weirong returned, holding a black briefcase. Upon entering the room, he immediately placed the briefcase on the table. The moment Fang Jing saw the case, his gaze was instantly captivated. He knew what it was. This was the complete set of technology for the military exoskeleton from a well-known manufacturer, including production line information. Zhou Weirong pushed the case in front of Fang Jing and smiled gently. This was his father's order. Although he couldn't fully understand it, he still executed it unconditionally. Thank you. Fang Jing cherished the briefcase, unable to stop the smile on his face. All right, that's it for now, Xiao Fang. 7 days later, right here, we shall meet again. Zhou Zetzi was clearly cautious of certain entities, so he didn't inquire about Fang Jing's situation. He wore a benevolent smile, quietly watching Fang Jing, eager to see how he would vanish into thin air. Okay, Zhou Lao, see you in 7 days. Understanding what kind of world this was, the initiative would henceforth be in the hands of this universe. Therefore, Fang Jing was not in a hurry. He smiled and took his leave. Then, in his heart, he activated the machine in the white, vast world. With a swoosh, Fang Jing disappeared right under Zhou Zetzi's eyes. It was astonishing and unbelievable. After a long while, the elder exclaimed in surprise, "Father, why give the exoskeleton technology directly to him?" Zhou Weirong hurriedly asked the question that was on his mind after seeing Fang Jing leave. "Ronger, how does this technology benefit us?" Zhou Zetzi did not answer directly, but countered with a question. "It's not particularly outstanding. The new exoskeleton has already begun to be tested for deployment. Since that's the case, why not take a chance to show goodwill?" Zhou Zetzi chuckled softly, his gaze fixed on the spot where Fang Jing had just sat. The other party came for the technology, indicating that their technology wasn't too advanced. But their existence was very important to us. Even if they couldn't save us directly, 2,500 years is too long. He looked up at the surveillance in the interrogation room. Giving them technology won't cost us anything, right? On the contrary, if we gain their support, the future path will at least be easier. I understand. Zhou Weirong nodded slightly, indicating his understanding. Good then. After a moment of silence, Zhou Zetzi withdrew his gaze and calmly instructed, "Next, properly renovate the 710 Institute. This place will be set as a dead end. All networks must be cut off, including the military network, and dismantle the surveillance as well. From now on, only paper records are allowed here." Chapter 8. Come on, let's go to the moon, land on the moon, and establish a lunar base. In a white, vast world. Fang Jing stared at the strange machine. This time, strange memories emerged again in his mind. A line of text inexplicably appeared in his consciousness. Come on, go to the moon, land on the moon, establish a moon base. What is this? Fang Jing was puzzled. Suddenly, everything around him spun, and he found himself back in the disinfection room of this universe. Fang Jing is back, in the monitoring room. Zhao Guanyao looked at the figure that appeared on the screen, filled with delight. He's back. How is he? Is he hurt? Wu Shi and the others leaned nervously closer to the monitor. They finally breathed a sigh of relief when they saw that Fang Jing had no visible injuries. Let's go out to the disinfection room to welcome him, Li Tianming suggested, exhaling. Ahaha, we should give our little hero a warm welcome. The burly man Zhou Yuan laughed heartily. Let's go, hurry up. Sun Wang nodded, and the 5 of them quickly ran out of the monitoring room. Even Zhao Guanyao hurriedly called for someone to keep an eye on the monitor and rushed to catch up. The soldiers who could enter the Shishan base had always been of good character. Faced with Fang Jing, who risked his safety for the future of the nation, everyone felt genuine admiration. In the disinfection room, Fang Jing conducted a self-check and found no abnormalities in his body. Half an hour later, he finally walked out of the room. Fang Jing, you're not hurt, right? Zhao Guanyao and the group immediately gathered around, looking at him with concern. I'm not hurt. Brother Zhao, look what I brought back. Fang Jing turned around, indicating that he was fine. That's good to hear, Zhao Guanyao exhaled. Hearing Fang Jing's words, he noticed the small box tightly held in his arms. What is this? He had a guess in his heart, but found it hard to believe. So smoothly. During the first formal communication, did he really obtain it? It's the full coverage exoskeleton technology, including the production line technology. They were very sincere. Fang Jing proudly introduced the box in his arms. What? Full set of technology, plus production line information? Zhao Guanyao and Zhou Yuan's eyes widened in disbelief. Frozen in place, their faces were filled with incredulity. This felt like a dream. They actually obtained the technology. Especially Zhou Yuan, his face lit up with joy. The technological strength on the other side exceeded my expectations. Fang Jing paused, looking at the eager expressions of those around him, building suspense. What else is there? Zhao Guanyao asked impatiently. Zhou Yuan and the others were as anxious as if they were being tickled. They have the technology for a space elevator. Fang Jing delivered the shocking news. The mention of a space elevator left the 5 completely stunned. They gasped in astonishment, exchanging glances filled with excitement that they could not conceal. There might be even more amazing things. They had a very good attitude towards us. Come on, let us talk about the rest in the office. Fang Jing chuckled. This is just the beginning. The civilization from the wandering Earth 2 truly possesses interstellar colonization capabilities. Just this technology alone is enough for the nation to make a giant leap forward. Brother Zhao, I won this bet. The nation is about to officially take off. With the support of the technology from the world of the wandering Earth, what can they use to compete with us? All right, let's discuss this in the office. Zhao Guanyao now felt as if he were dreaming. He hurriedly pinched himself. Ouch, that hurts. This is real. Ha ha ha. May the heavens bless our nation. Let the truth be revealed. In the 237 plan office, Fang Jing shared everything about his experiences in the world of the wandering Earth 2 with a few people. Without holding anything back, This information was crucial for the research team to formulate their plan, and Fang Jing could not afford to be careless. After all, if something went wrong, he would be the only one executing the task. He did not want to end up in trouble for concealing information. You mean, universe? No. One is the universe of the Wandering Earth 2, and you encountered Zhou Zhiji? Zhao Guangyao had already pulled up this movie. As he watched it, he couldn't calm his heart. Indeed, although there were some differences in appearance from the movie, he was unmistakably that person, and the solar crisis was undeniable. Fang Jing was certain. This was understandable. After all, they had crossed into parallel universes. Li Tianming found it extremely interesting that universe No. 1 was actually the universe of the Wandering Earth 2. This was actually more beneficial for them. Knowing the general direction allowed them to have more initiative. Zhao Guangyao calmed down, exhaled, glanced at the box placed in the middle of the table, pointed to it, and asked, "Is it because that world has the Moss artificial intelligence that you dare not open this tech box while connected to the network?" "Yes. The 710 Institute might be where Moss was born, and I'm not sure if they would infiltrate this box." Fang Jing expressed his concerns. "Your caution is well-founded. I will find a way to prepare a completely disconnected place to extract and verify this technology." Zhao Guangyao was very satisfied with Fang Jing's caution. He nodded, moved past this topic, and continued to ask, "Then, when you used that machine to teleport back, a phrase inexplicably appeared in your mind? Come to the moon. Land on the moon. Establish a lunar base. Is that the phrase?" "That's right. I don't know what it means. It just appeared in my mind suddenly." Fang Jing explained immediately. "I will prepare a report and submit it." Zhao Guangyao patted Fang Jing on the shoulder, smiled slightly, and said softly, "Don't worry. Since it wants us to go to the moon to establish a lunar base, we will follow through. Once the lunar base is established, we will naturally understand what it means." "Great." Hearing Zhao Guangyao's reassurance, Fang Jing felt much calmer. After a few more exchanges, Zhao Guangyao hurriedly left with the tech box. After he left, Zhou Yuan rushed up and gave Fang Jing a big bear hug. "Well done, kid. You did a great job. You managed to bring back the exoskeleton technology on your first try." Zhou Yuan, a big man from a farming background, later advanced in the military. But that simple-mindedness rooted in the land had not faded, so he expressed his joy very directly, without a hint of shyness, including Sun Wang and a few others. All of them came from military backgrounds and warmly embraced Fang Jing. This is what makes Fang Jing so delighted. These most admirable people are straightforward and wholeheartedly dedicated to this country, without any backstabbing. Of course, Fang Jing does not sense any intrigue because Elder Zhu Jinsheng has kept them all outside the 237 plan. "Alright, I understand. This is indeed good news. And I will discuss it with the top leader." After ending the confidential call from Chun Limin at the Shishan base, Elder Zhu exhaled deeply and coldly remarked, "These little brats are starting to act up again. They'll soon present results. You won't be scared to death." Thinking about the good things Fang Jing brought back, Elder Zhu chuckled. "Is the stagnant world ready to welcome our deep water bomb?" Chapter 9. It's time to shine, baby. In the capital of Huagua, at the conference building, several big figures were gathered and arguing incessantly over a matter. The director of the Chemical and Battery Technology Research Institute was engaged in a verbal battle, fully charged. Battery technology is currently of utmost importance. Electric vehicles, unmanned devices, and even extraterrestrial exploration. What project doesn't require battery technology? How can such important projects just be halted? What are you trying to do? I suspect some of you have issues. Where's the confidentiality office? Investigate the project approvers. I want them all checked. He Jiaxuan was hoarse with anger, glaring at the discontented expressions of a few project approval personnel. Just this morning, he went to the laboratory as usual, only to receive a thunderbolt of news. Their advanced solid-state sodium battery experimental project had been completely shut down, and the entire research team was awaiting reassignment. Seeing this announcement, he was furious on the spot. Time is life. It took Huagua a long time to accumulate industrial advantages in the battery field, and now it's halted without reasonable justification. He doubted. No, he was certain that there were foreign spies mixed in the approval group. Elder He, don't be anxious. Aren't we here for a discussion?" Sitting nearby and sipping tea, the leader of the Robot Power Research Group, who wore a hidden smile, remained calm and advised. "Everyone here has had their projects halted. Isn't this meeting meant to explain? Let us see what reasons you can come up with. If the reasons are not convincing, we'll have to write to the top leader." "Exactly. My exoskeleton comprehensive power transmission system group has also been halted. I really don't know what you're thinking." At the meeting, the tempers of the experts and scholars were quite volatile. Those present were undoubtedly all affected by the project's suspension. Their passion for research was akin to life itself, so their anger was understandable. "Everyone, please calm down. The suspension of your projects is not something we few decided." The head of the project review group, former president of the National Academy of Sciences, Wu Yud, barely managed to suppress the many esteemed scientists with his authority. At the same time, he was sweating profusely. What is the military doing? Why haven't they arrived yet? When these old fellows get riled up, the entire scientific community in the region will tremble. If it's not your intention, then is it the intention of those above? He Jiaxuan glared at Wu Yud, always finding him unpleasant to look at, and said sarcastically, "Didn't you say you bought a house abroad? I think you have a problem." "Hey Lao He, I just went to an international technology conference, visiting some classmates, and those paparazzi snapped a pic. This is pure slander, and you're getting all worked up." We have felt a bit helpless. The people attending this time were not inferior to him in their respective fields, especially this old he, whom he had always found disagreeable. To prevent the seminar from turning into a shouting match between him and Lao He, Wu Yud had to release some information. This matter was indeed from above. Everyone could see the document, signed by the top authority, without a doubt. As the document was distributed, the prominent red seal caught everyone's eye. He Jiaxuan, who was originally ready to unleash a torrent of insults, calmed down. Why? Tap, tap, tap. The familiar sound of military boots echoed. Wu Yud exhaled, relaxed, and said, "Here comes the reason. Everyone take a look." Bang. The conference room door was pushed open. 2 squads of fully armed soldiers entered, wearing combat gear. They blocked signals, informed the airport, intercepted radio waves, and notified the information department, sending away the surveillance satellites. Chun Limin was the last to enter the conference room. He said nothing. Simply walked to the window, gestured to a sniper across the street, and then closed the curtains. Wow, what a big show. But where's the explanation? Fully armed soldiers were dispatching telegrams and activating communication jammers. This display was indeed grand, but it didn't intimidate He Jiaxuan, who had been on the battlefield before. He sneered, eager to see what reasons those above had after listening to so many projects. The security officer distributed confidentiality agreements. After Chun Limin ensured everything was in order, he waved his hand. A small cart was slowly pushed into the conference room, covered with a black cloth, adding to the sense of mystery. Xiao Chun, after keeping us in suspense for so long, let us see what's under there. Wu Yud was also curious about why these projects were halted. He was just following orders from the document. He Jiaxuan didn't hesitate, quickly signing his name on the confidentiality agreement. He mumbled to himself, vowing that if this didn't convince him, he would raise a fuss with the top authority. Director Chun, the confidentiality agreements are complete. The security officer collected the documents, organized them carefully, and stood aside respectfully. Everyone, the reason the higher-ups decided to suspend your research is because of this, Chun Limin said, suddenly pulling off the black cloth covering the cart. A sleek, dark-painted object, with a robust appearance and heavy armor on the chest, featuring a full-body exoskeleton, appeared before everyone. He Jiaxuan looked at the exoskeleton in front of him, which seemed to have come straight out of a science fiction work, his mouth agape, and his voice choked. He was so shocked that he couldn't speak. This was the Model 23 exoskeleton armor, equipped with a new type of battery, capable of carrying a multifunctional launch platform, with hydraulic claws capable of exerting around 1 ton of force, and able to operate continuously for a week in combat conditions. Chun Limin's voice at this moment was stiff, as if he were reading a script. However, to the scientists present, it felt like a dream. An exoskeleton armor that could be practically used? This must be a joke, right? In today's world, there is no comparable exoskeleton of the same level as this Model 23. Moreover, there had been no prior news about research on this technology domestically. Could it be that this was a product of a military research institute, with top-notch technology in battery, transmission, system control, human-machine interface, and balance systems? What this implied was to make some of these technologies civilian. You should suspend your current research projects and start directly from these more advanced technologies. This order will take effect immediately. Chun Limin did not give the scientists present any time to react, covering the exoskeleton with a black cloth. As he reached the door, he remembered he had something else to say. By the way, the technical information is at the Military Academy of Sciences. You need to go retrieve it in person. Also, any participating laboratories will be subject to oversight by the Military Science Confidential Institute. This is a necessary measure to prevent the loss of advanced technology. And I hope you understand. After saying this, Chun Limin left. The scientists remained, their eyes filled with excitement. There were new and more advanced technologies available for their research. How could they not be thrilled? Chapter 10. This is just the beginning. The future will be even more significant. In fact, it was only 5 days until the technology for the AO Shark exoskeleton armor was unveiled. During these 5 days, the Military Academy of Sciences worked tirelessly as if they had found a treasure. They verified the data in just 2 days. After confirming its accuracy, this group of tough men quickly assembled a prototype. After a day's testing, they found that the actual performance matched the recorded data perfectly. Thus, the eager Army brothers immediately began setting up the production line. To do this, they dismantled 2 drone production lines to piece together a production line for the Model 23 military exoskeleton armor. As for the battery technology, with reference materials available, reproducing it was not particularly difficult. At the shooting range, a carefully selected soldier donned the fully covered exoskeleton armor, armed to an extraordinary degree. He held a CBQ-191 short assault rifle in one hand, with an 11-barrel Gatling gun strapped to his back, and a temporary modification carrying an 8-tube anti-tank rocket launcher. In his left hand, he carried 2 reconnaissance drones and 4 self-destructing drones. He was indeed brimming with firepower. The soldier moved nimbly through various terrains, the heavy exoskeleton feeling as smooth as clothing, allowing him to maneuver without any hindrance. Releasing the drone, enemy armored vehicles were spotted. The 8-barreled anti-tank rocket launcher behind it rose, and with a whoosh, a rocket was immediately fired, booming as it pierced through the target, a tank. Stationed on a distant hill, the enemy armored vehicle was destroyed. Observing the test results and the increasingly joyful smile on the face of the test soldier, the old officer with binoculars felt his fear of insufficient firepower vanish instantly. What a great thing, truly a great thing. The Army veteran was incredibly excited. Did the military academy finally remember their army big brothers? Usually, the Navy gets new ships, the Air Force gets new planes, and the Army only gets new boots. Now, the tides have turned. I must send a 1-ton medal to the chief designer of the 23 model. Watching the test soldier, seemingly aided by divine intervention, effortlessly lifted a small car using an exoskeleton mechanical arm. The Army veteran's smile was radiant. What do you think, old Sue? Do you still oppose my plan? Zhu Jingxing gently lowered the binoculars, looking at his excited old rival, and smiled lightly. Oppose? Have I ever opposed? Unexpectedly, the old officer feigned ignorance, grinning as he said, just tell me what you need for your plan. If old Xing disagrees, I'll make him agree. Isn't it just about being a bit more aggressive next? After so many years of peace, the young ones out there don't even know we built our reputation by standing strong against certain powers. Go ahead and do it. After saying this, he paused for a moment and then quietly added, but do not initiate war lightly. After all, these are our own people. Don't worry. The next actions will just be a bit more significant. Zhu Jingsheng waved his hand, chuckling inwardly. This old fellow thinks he is going to do something big. Damn. How much tech do you military scientists have left? This exoskeleton can be deployed directly, right? It's so advanced. The old officer grumbled a bit more. You don't know the half of it. Support me, and wait for good news. Zhu Jingxing chuckled softly. Universe number 1 has been named the Wandering Earth Universe. The Wandering Earth Universe is remarkably similar to our own, and the standardized exoskeleton of their army can be produced directly, even without any program modifications. It can be adapted seamlessly to our universe. It seems it's time to pursue deeper cooperation with them. The moon? Zhu Jingxing looked at the contents of the intelligence report. The expert group speculated that establishing a lunar base might be the key to opening a stable spatial gateway. Thus, the next major goal of the 237 plan emerged, to establish a lunar base in the shortest time possible. Originally, establishing a lunar base was a plan set for 33 years later in this universe. However, for this goal, they must be more aggressive. After all, the technology of the exoskeleton is simply too appealing. Once this thing is out, many conservatives will back down. Having convinced one conservative, if they can rally another, the numbers will be sufficient. At the Xishan base, in the underground section, Fang Jing is currently in training. However, today is different as Zhou Yuan has been very excited. It turns out they have all received the 23rd generation exoskeleton armor. As the vanguard of humanity, Zhou Yuan and his team are responsible for quickly familiarizing themselves with the exoskeleton and then teaching Fang Jing. However, Fang Jing is skeptical about Zhou Yuan being his instructor. This guy is just a brash individual. Relying on his strong physique, he directly attached 6 pieces of alloy armor to his chest. This alloy is based on technology provided by a certain project, and the 6 pieces combined cannot be penetrated by ordinary RPGs. It feels great, truly exhilarating. Holding a Gatling gun with one hand at the shooting range, Zhou Yuan was having a blast. Is brother Zhou having too much fun? Fang Jing clicked his tongue. He only acts like this during training. When it comes to actual combat, he is very cautious. Li Tianming chuckled. Their team has real combat experience. Despite Zhou Yuan currently appearing reckless, he is an extremely reliable support during actual operations. As they were talking, Zhao Guangyao walked in cheerfully. Fang Jing, old Zhu has sorted things out. This time, we'll mainly discuss aviation technology. Is it for the moon? Fang Jing raised an eyebrow, instantly understanding old Zhu's intention. That's right, old Zhu said. Since your machine has indicated a need to go to the moon, why not take a look? This time, you should first gauge the other side's stance and, if possible, inquire about the technology in this area. Zhao Guangyao responded with a smile and added, also, with expert reviews. This battery technology, which is only used in electric vehicles, can bring in 100 billion in profits for our country during the initial low production phase. The automotive industry has always been high in manufacturing, and this battery comes at just the right time. Taking advantage of this opportunity, we will weaken the battery technology and distribute it to the public. This will annihilate the oil vehicle market and the dominance of certain countries. We will completely seize the electric vehicle supply chain for our country. Their days of arrogance will soon be over. The reason certain countries have maintained their developed status and controlled the high-end automotive manufacturing industry exported worldwide is fundamental. This is also why they have been increasingly anxious since our electric vehicle development began. With this battery technology, along with our already top-tier electric vehicle manufacturing, the automotive industry will be entirely anchored in our country. Indeed, we are digging up the roots of those countries. The technology Fang Jing brings is equivalent to replacing a shovel for digging roots with an excavator. The accelerator has already been welded shut. Are our counterparts ready to face the impact? This time the impact won't be a tidal wave, but a fatal strike. A blow that will shatter the pride of certain countries' industries. Chapter 11, 100 billion. I've never seen so much money. In the world of the project. Room 710 of the interrogation facility. The interrogation room has undergone a major transformation, now resembling a comfortable reception area. Even the original regret chairs have been replaced with soft sofas. When Fang Jing strolled in, he was almost left speechless. During this time, I've made some renovations. Zhou Zhiji was leisurely sipping a cup of tea when he noticed Fang Jing's sudden appearance. He smiled slightly and raised his hand to push the cup away. Has the problem been resolved? After discussing with Zhao Guangyao and others, Fang Jing decided not to inform them about the matter of the Wandering Earth from this universe for the time being. so he kept quiet. The technological strength of this universe is weak and cannot provide any help at the moment. However, the unilateral demand for technology is only temporary. Once the spatial gate can be opened, they will definitely extend a helping hand. At that time, they will surely rescue the other party from their plight. Fang Jing looked at Zhou Zhezhi, his eyes firm. One good turn deserves another. The uninvited guest here had already been sent away. Now, what arrived was a friend. Zhou Zhezhi raised his cup, took a sip, and exclaimed, "Good tea." Fang Jing imitated him and took a sip as well. Although he couldn't appreciate tea, the rich aroma lingered in his mouth, suggesting it was of exceptional quality. So he echoed, "Indeed, it is good tea. It's a pity that each time we drink, there's one less for our descendants to enjoy." Zhou Zhezhi sighed, set down his teacup, and took out a document from his briefcase, handing it to Fang Jing. "This is our #1 document. Thank you for your trouble." "No problem. It's my honor," Fang Jing replied as he accepted the document. "My welcome gift isn't bad, right?" Zhou Zhezhi waved his hand, signaling Zhou Weirong to come in, and looked at Fang Jing. "Impressive, thank you, sir." Fang Jing sincerely admired Zhou Zhezhi. He had admired him while watching movies, and now that he was interacting with him in reality, his admiration was unparalleled. It's hard for someone to harbor hostility towards this warm-hearted elder. His loving gaze warms one's heart. "Hee, tell me about your side as Huagua. I'd love to hear it." Zhou Zhezhi poured tea for Fang Jing again. "Our Huagua, starting from the Xia dynasty." Fang Jing spoke a lot, starting from the Xia dynasty all the way to the present. When he talked about the humiliating century in modern times, his eyes filled with tears. When he spoke of the efforts to save the nation, he was invigorated and excited, and when he discussed the struggle for the rise of Huagua, it felt as if he was right in the midst of it. After listening to Fang Jing's narration, Zhou Zhezhi silently nodded, repeatedly expressing approval. "Our Huagua, no matter where or when, can always rise from the ashes and create miracles." Hearing Fang Jing talk about the Huagua from another world, Zhou Zhezhi felt a deep connection. The historical trajectories of the two worlds Huagua were not vastly different. The biggest difference lay in the technological and strength gap after entering the new century. "Indeed, Zhou Lao, we can always create miracles, and in the future, we will definitely create miracles." Fang Jing was extremely confident about this. Just then, while the two were conversing, hurried footsteps echoed from the corridor. Zhou Daoyun rushed in anxiously. "Zhou Lao, it's bad. The digital faction suddenly launched an attack on the space elevator, and the United Nations needs you to mediate." "What?" Zhou Zhezhi's expression changed, and he quickly asked, "Is there a problem with the space elevator?" "No, the aircraft was intercepted, and the attack failed." "Did you hear?" "Nothing major happened." Zhou Zhezhong let out a sigh of relief. He looked apologetically at Fang Jing and said, "We have an emergency here, so I can't host you properly. But don't worry, my son Zhou Weirong is now fully in charge of your matters. And the technology in Category D is completely open to you. You can use it freely. If you have any questions, you can also contact the scientists here through Ronger." After speaking, Zhou Zhezhong forced a smile and told Fang Jing, "Trust me, the technology in Category D will keep you busy for quite some time." "Well, I must take my leave now." "It's fine, your matters are important. Take care, Mr. Zhou." Fang Jing initially felt a bit disappointed that only Category D technology was available. However, upon hearing Zhou Zhezhong's words, his eyes suddenly lit up. Once Zhou Zhezhong left, he immediately asked Zhou Weirong, "Is there any aerospace technology in Category D?" "Yes, but it's mostly old chemical rockets." Zhou Weirong opened the directory of Category D technology and handed it to Fang Jing. Fang Jing browsed through it for a while, his eyes nearly glued to the pages. The more he read, the wider his smile became, almost reaching his ears. "Ha ha ha, with this technology, who needs them? Just burn it and feed it to the dogs." When Fang Jing returned, he was already quite familiar with the process. After handing over the documents and technical materials to Zhao Guanyao, he called his parents and was immediately pulled out by Zhou Yuan for training. Zhou Gu is a very reliable man. His teaching method was simple, practiced together with Fang Jing. Whatever he asked Fang Jing to do, he did it alongside him. Therefore, Fang Jing respected him greatly. This guy is tough. After training, the two would also play some games and chat. "Zhou Gu, I noticed you have a wound on your calf during training. How did that happen?" Fang Jing asked casually after executing a left hook with his character and noticing the injury. "Oh, I got shot by a drug dealer while patrolling the border." Zhou Yuan replied nonchalantly while executing a perfect block in the game. "Luckily, it was a through-and-through wound, so no amputation was needed, just a few stitches. You're really something. Zhou Gu, I respect you. Hey, you young man, if you're not convinced, come run 10 kilometers with me. I'll make you respect me." Let's forget about that." "It's break time," Fang Jing said, feeling embarrassed. Zhou Yuan laughed heartily. "Look at this kid, he's scared." During Fang Jing's break, the documents were sent to the top leader, and the technical materials were delivered to the military academy. After reading the documents, the leader sighed and turned to old Zhu, saying, "They reached out to us for help, saying they are willing to provide technology, but they need us to prove that we can maintain a stable passage for people. This is the foundation of cooperation. Having just one small passage clearly makes them feel insecure, which is understandable." Old Zhu smiled slightly, fully understanding their concerns. After all, they're planning for 2,500 years. If there's only one small passage, who can guarantee anything after 100 years? "So, old Zhu, is this your reason for strongly pushing for lunar exploration?" Number 1 picked up another document with a bitter smile on his face. You know, your concentrated effort to land on the moon was criticized by the space agency as being the most radical of the radicals? I know, Zhu Jincheng said nonchalantly. Continuing, but this is an opportunity. We have also acquired the technology, right? Next, all you need to do is allocate the funds. With this technology, landing on the moon is no problem, not to mention reaching Mars. I can only allocate 100 billion. This is squeezed out from the military and planning committee using exoskeleton technology. Go ahead and make it happen. Excitement flashed in number one's eyes. During his term, the nation could achieve a moon landing and establish a lunar base. He would go down in history. All right, that's more than enough. 100 billion. Normally, the space agency's budget is only 10 billion a year. 10 space agencies, plus the existing technology, it's completely feasible. Zhu stood up excitedly, waving his hands. His persuasion had indeed worked. I'll immediately bring those old-timers from the Space Department over. Tomorrow, stop those projects and start building rockets directly. Let's do this. Chapter 12. Determination to land on the moon. At 7 in the morning, Chun Ming woke up and started his day. He was a sophomore at an aviation university and an aviation enthusiast. As a space fan, he and others from all over the country had formed a small group. Every morning, he would routinely check the group chat to see what others were discussing. What do you think about the second test flight failure of the Starship? The short blade has made a good start. Haha, I knew this stupid thing would definitely explode. To be fair, although it looks unreliable, the technology is far more advanced than our rockets. A user sent a meme of someone sitting and watching. Some people are just jealous, they can afford this. And once successful, it will be the most powerful rocket on this planet. A true beacon of humanity. Another user scoffed, sending multiple messages. Your country's space program doesn't even have reusable rockets, and you're here being jealous? Sour grapes for not being able to reach the grapes. Give it another 30 years. And your country still won't catch up to the space progress of others. No, I think even 50 years will be difficult. They landed on the moon 50 years ago. And now they're just not interested. What about your country? You can't even get started. Still looking down on the Starship? What are you? A user commented, another keyboard warrior. Group owner, kick him out. Another user sent a confused emoji. If you can't win an argument, just kick him out. Typical turtle mentality. Your country's space program is also a turtle, completely lacking innovation. You can just cling to stubborn ideas on Earth. By the time you step out of Earth, the Starship will be everywhere. At that moment, the user felt like a warrior, ready to battle in words. Chun Ming's blood pressure rose as he prepared to respond. But just then, the group owner suddenly popped up and shared a link. Everyone, quickly check the morning news. Big event, big event. What major event is happening? Chun Ming decided to click on the link out of curiosity, wanting to see this surprise last a few more seconds. As the screen shifted, a familiar studio appeared before him. A male and a female host were delivering the news. According to the National Space Agency, the project leader of the Lunar Exploration Program stated that the manned lunar landing spacecraft is currently in production and is expected to be launched in a month. The leader indicated that if the rocket performs well, the manned lunar landing project will be initiated within next year, making the country the second nation to achieve a manned lunar landing after another country. Chun Ming was astonished, his face full of disbelief. What did he just hear? The news announced that next month, the manned lunar landing spacecraft would be launched. If the rocket succeeds, the project would kick off within the year. The country is going to the moon. No way, am I dreaming? This year is 2023, not 2030? Chun Ming felt as if he were in a dream. He stared blankly at his social media, only to find that the announcement about the lunar landing project was trending at the top. This wasn't a joke among friends. It was real. Oh my gosh. At this moment, Chun Ming could only express his excitement with exclamations of surprise. Opening the trending topic. The comments section was buzzing with excitement. Is this official? Wow. Totally caught off guard. There was no prior news at all. Incredible. I can't sleep this month. The space agency is secretly preparing a big surprise. How mischievous. I can't help but love this thrilling moment. Hey, what kind of rocket will be used for the lunar landing? The models 10 and 9 haven't even been developed yet. My 3 Essentials haven't even shown their faces. This news is truly groundbreaking. It has sent shockwaves throughout the entire online community of the country. Meanwhile, another country, which is currently dispatching troops to the Middle East, was caught completely off guard. What is going on? Why did they suddenly announce a lunar landing? The news spread and caused intense discussions online. Comments from netizens included concerns about the safety of astronauts due to their spacecraft technology. Some expressed hope for their success, while others made derogatory remarks about the country's capabilities. Regardless, this day marked a monumental moment, creating massive waves in the online world. Meanwhile, the head of the space agency, Zhang Xiaoming, was extremely busy handling the situation. At the meeting, he looked at the many aerospace experts and engineers and said seriously, "We have been approved for a total of 100 billion, along with the rocket technology that has been secretly researched by the military academy. Our task is to verify the technology within a month and produce this type of rocket. You can now browse the technical documents." The aerospace experts exchanged materials and became deeply immersed in the technical knowledge. A few days ago, their project had been temporarily halted, and they received a message that they should focus all efforts on the lunar landing plan, with the military delegating the secret rocket technology to them. It is said that this technology is more advanced. Now, they finally have the chance to glimpse the true nature of this technology. The group grew more excited as they looked on. The genius idea, and this structure could increase fuel efficiency by 5 percentage points. Incredible. The spacecraft structure can be optimized like this? My goodness, how many more good things does the military have? This rocket is a whole generation more advanced than the number 9 we had anticipated. The data is very detailed, and the experts calculated it in their minds, arriving at an astonishing conclusion. This rocket, not only can it land humans on the moon, but it is also fully capable of sending them to Mars. Using it for a lunar landing would be like using a cannon to hit a mosquito. What a waste. With a launch weight of 7,000 tons, a low Earth orbit payload of 350 tons, and a lunar orbit payload of 200 tons, this rocket is powerful. The senior officials from the 6th Academy were dumbfounded. This rocket, if not used to attack a lunar base, would be an absolute waste. The payload capacity of the rocket determines the scale of aerospace endeavors. But to leap from a 25-ton payload to this 350-ton behemoth is simply astonishing. Chapter 13. 3 months to the moon is not a dream question. How terrifying is it when the second largest economy in the world fully mobilizes its national machinery? Answer. 3 months to the moon is not a dream. Originally a trending topic online, it has now become a reality. Since the announcement that the country plans to conduct a lunar rocket test launch within a month, the world's attention has focused on a certain island in the South China Sea as the closest launch base to the equator in the entire country. This is undoubtedly the best choice. Now, the previously calm sea surface is bustling with activity. Aerospace enthusiast Duan Rue, who just arrived here, was left speechless by the scene before him. On the sea, 35 large sand dredging vessels were neatly arranged and under the direction of the command. They were crazily filling land. In the distance along the shore, an artificial island was gradually taking shape. While the artificial island was being filled, compactors were already on the island, working vigorously. Duan Rue counted and found that there were 50 compactors alone. Amazing, amazing, everyone look, this is real. Watching the scene unfold, Duan Rue was extremely excited, and he recorded this spectacular sight with his mobile camera. He was live streaming, with the stream titled Exploring the South China Sea Launch Base, tracking the lunar module progress. The viewers in the live stream room saw footage captured by a camera and immediately erupted in excitement. Wow, is this for real? Someone exclaimed. What do you think? Are we just setting up for fun? Incredible. Is that a launch pad being built? Keep us updated, I can't wait. I won't be able to sleep this month. Do they have sleeping pills that can make me wake up a month later? Calm down, everyone. We can only talk about follow-ups after the launch is successful in a month. There's no need to rush. But I'm so excited. This is about landing on the moon. Aside from the excited comments from viewers, gifts were pouring in as well. Duan Rue licked his lips and noticed an elderly man in the distance leading an ox. Realizing he was likely a local, he hurried over, pointed to the large scene on the sea, and asked, "Sir, what is happening here?" The old man replied leisurely, "This is for the moon landing launch pad." He stopped the ox, smiled, and pointed towards the sea, saying, "My son went too. The young folks around here have gone to work on it because the government is paying well. I heard they need to finish by the 20th of the month. They're working in shifts to build a building over 150 meters tall, finishing by the 20th, 150 meters high." Hearing this key information, Duan Rue became instantly excited. Wait, that's right. They say it's going to the moon. That's the moon. The old man shook his head and looked up at the sky. He felt that the so-called science nowadays was really impressive, capable of reaching the moon. "Thank you, sir." Duan Rue repeatedly expressed his gratitude while excitedly telling the viewers in the live stream. Did everyone hear that? They're finishing by the 20th, working in shifts. And the launch pad is 150 meters high. Ha ha ha. This is real, no doubt about it. Although he knew that in the realm of scientific research, the country always followed through on its words, the news was still so shocking that many instinctively thought it must be fake. Duan Rue had thought the same way until he arrived at the island in the South China Sea and saw the bustling construction site before him. He completely believed it now. The moon landing was really happening, as more and more people came to verify the news firsthand. Those who had initially treated it as a joke had to start taking it seriously in amazement. This scene could not possibly be fake. The launch pad construction site, which was very visible, naturally could not be hidden from anyone. However, the factory producing the rockets was not having an easy time either. Hu Rongyao, a technician at Factory 615, had only graduated from university 3 years ago and was responsible for the production of the engine turbine pumps. Early in the morning, he was surprised to see the manager personally accompanying several military personnel with red armbands, inputting models into the machine tools. What is going on? He wondered. But soon after, the manager held a small meeting and his questions were answered. They were going to produce the engines for the moon landing rocket. "Manager, we're producing the new rocket engines?" Hu Rongyao asked excitedly. "That's right, Xiao Hu. The task is challenging, so make sure to learn and observe." The supervisor greatly appreciated Hu Rongyao, patted him on the shoulder, and continued with the task assignment. The code name for the rocket had been issued, and the authorities were very focused on the first launch. Additionally, to share some information, the entire lunar landing mission had received a funding of a whopping 100 billion yuan, which speaks volumes about its importance. Everyone, the moon landing is the dream of our nation. If successful, all participants present will be forever recorded in history. The supervisor's words were quite inspiring, and after listening, everyone felt very excited. Indeed, our people have a unique emotional connection to the moon. The moon landing is not just an exploration, but also a spiritual transformation for our people. Why? To this day, are there still many who follow foreign trends? Although many have awakened, Why do they still idolize foreign cultures? A century of weakness has left a mark. While the nation has physically risen, it still has spiritual shortcomings. This lunar landing, if achieved perfectly, would be a decisive step in restoring our confidence. From then on, no matter how much criticism comes from outside, it will no longer matter. The strong will remain strong, and there is no need to defend oneself. Once we enter the realm of others, we will have our own voices to speak for our nation. In the control room of the space agency, all tasks were completed excellently, and the military provided comprehensive data, meeting the required production precision. The leaders of the aerospace industry reported to Zhu Jincheng. We have discussed for a long time and decided to use the code name Storm for this rocket model, which will be named Storm 9. Storm? Zhu Jincheng pondered for a moment and nodded. That's fine. I remember the technology from the Storm rocket later integrated into the Long March series. Indeed, it's a fitting choice for differentiation. The aerospace leader nodded and analyzed. Storm 9 uses the YF-140 engine, with a single nozzle and pump-behind swing, providing a thrust of 600 tons. The entire rocket has no boosters and a total of 12 engines in the first stage. The second stage uses the YF-301, with a single thrust of 90 tons, totaling 4 engines. The rocket will have a total of 16 engines, expected to be completed by the 10th. At this point, the aerospace leader cast a resentful glance at Zhu Jincheng and complained, "Fortunately, you consulted us. Had you directly released the news, I wonder how you would have handled it." It was also fortunate that the 700-ton test stand was just completed. If Zhu Jincheng had initiated this a month earlier, with no test stand for the 600-ton engine, how would he explain it to the people? With 600 tons of thrust, if it had been placed on previous test stands, truly, it could have performed quite a spectacle, lifting not just bricks but buildings. Chapter 14. There is a mole. Transaction terminated. The date is now July 15th. In the world of the wandering earth, Zhou was busy with matters and would not be coming over for a short while. All communication tasks were handled by his son, Zhou Weirong, who was also the first person Fang Jing met in this world. Compared to his father, Zhou Weirong was gentle but spoke much less. In recent days, they had only gotten to know a bit about each other's worlds. However, the negotiations with the world of the wandering earth have stalled because this universe cannot provide a stable and accessible passage, only maintaining basic communication. Therefore, in recent days, Fang Jing has mainly been engaged in various training. One day, while training with firearms, Zhou Yuan suddenly ran over happily and patted Fang Jing on the shoulder, saying, "The Type 23 exoskeleton has passed verification and is about to be officially equipped." Officially equipped? Fang Jing recalled the joke that an old army officer mentioned during a call. Who would love to sleep with the exoskeleton? It seems the army buddies couldn't hold back and worked overnight to speed things up. It's quite possible. When I tested new guns before, I also couldn't sleep at night, directly going out to shoot a few rounds. Zhou Yuan scratched his head, agreeing with Fang Jing's statement. There is indeed a possibility. Hee, but the first to be equipped will definitely be the elite marine and air combat units. Fang Jing chuckled. The elite army will have to wait. Ha. Little Fang, that is not necessarily true. The army has really made a bold move this time and directly seized 2 production lines. Zhou Yuan shook his head with a look that said, "You're too young." The reason they used, the higher-ups couldn't refuse. What reason? Fang Jing was a bit curious about what reason couldn't be refused. Recapturing a certain island and reducing casualties during urban warfare. Zhou Yuan said seriously. The army has decided to spend heavily to equip all members of the Eastern Landing Force with exoskeletons, and they will be improved models. By then, the landing troops will be able to advance under the active defense jets of tanks during urban warfare. The army will have no more concerns. What Superman troops advancing under the active defense jets? Fang Jing clicked his tongue upon hearing this. The tank's active defense system actively launches projectiles to intercept anti-tank rounds. Recently, people paying attention to a certain conflict in the Middle East would know why some tanks were exposed by militia groups. Answer: because there was no infantry clearing buildings during urban warfare, they thought they were safe hiding in the tank with active defense on. Once the active defense is engaged, the metal jets cover the entire area, making it impossible for infantry to coordinate. Thus, active defense and infantry coordination have always been an either-or situation. But with exoskeletons, our country chooses to have both. With armor deployed, I'll take on the metal jets and clear buildings. Who dares to oppose? No wonder the higher-ups couldn't refuse. This reason is invincible. Fang Jing agreed. As it concerns the great cause of national reunification, he supports it unconditionally. Also, Brother Zhao asked me to remind you to pay more attention to your machine recently and see if it has any reactions. After chatting for a while, Zhou Yuan reminded Fang Jing as he was leaving. Wait, is it about to land on the moon? Fang Jing was a bit excited upon hearing this. So soon? It hasn't been long. The news has spread, and it's normal that you wouldn't know since the base isn't connected to the internet. Zhou Yuan smiled honestly, pointing to the engineering team that was installing equipment, and said, "Today the quantum channel will be connected, and you'll know when you go online later." The news has spread. Fang Jing's eyes widened. They're moving this fast. Our infrastructure level, do we even need to mention it? On the 1st of next month, the rocket will launch on schedule, and in just 16 days, we can watch the live broadcast. Zhou Yuan scoffed and waved his hand as he walked away. Indeed, when it comes to infrastructure, if they really get serious, a month is reasonable. No, if it weren't for the need to go through the entire safety review process, the time could be even shorter. Fong Jing grinned and, coming back to his senses, looked at Chung Su and shouted loudly, "Come on, let's continue. The people outside are working hard. I can't just sit idle. What are you mumbling about?" Chung Su was startled and rubbed his ears, reminding Fong Jing. "We're doing explosive training. When dismantling and installing, we need to keep calm and not be so loud." "Ah, I got it. All right, let's go." At Huaguahuaca University. In the Computer Research Institute, Chun Haoran finished work and carefully walked out of the office. He seemed a bit tense, glancing back occasionally as if he were wary of his surroundings. "Old Chen, what are you doing?" A sudden voice from behind startled Chen Haoran, causing him to jump and turn around in shock. It turned out to be his colleague, Su Kaihuai. "Oh." He let out a deep breath and forced a stiff smile. "I'm heading home after work." "Oh, I really envy you guys. I still have to work the night shift." Su Kaihuai shook his head, a bit helpless. However, he had some doubts in his mind. "Old Chen, why do you look so pale?" Hearing Su Kaihuai's question, Chun Haoran broke out in a cold sweat. He stammered for a moment, suddenly shivering and clutching his stomach. "It's nothing, just caught a cold recently and my stomach feels uncomfortable." Oh, health is the most important thing. Don't worry about it. Just go home and rest well. If anything, take a day off tomorrow. The team leader won't blame you." Su Kaihuai waved his hand, concerned for a moment before saying goodbye. In the Computer Research Institute, due to some computational tasks, the machine team also had to work at night. Therefore, someone had to be on the night shift every day. Su Kaihuai was the one on duty that night. After having dinner downstairs, he wandered around the building for a while to digest. However, when he reached the rooftop power distribution room, he saw a familiar figure through the window. "Chen Haoran? Didn't he say he was sick and going home?" Su Kaihuai's pupils suddenly constricted. He watched his old colleague acting sneaky and looking back from time to time. He recalled the team leader's advice regarding this veteran employee. A few days ago, the team leader had privately approached him and seriously told him that their computer institute was calculating the trajectory data of the lunar landing rocket sent over by the space agency. This matter was extremely important and considered top secret. Because his family background was clean and his father was a military regiment leader, the team leader felt comfortable sharing this with him, asking him to keep a close watch to avoid any mistakes. Originally, he thought, how could there be any mistakes? But seeing his old colleague act so strangely now made him feel alarmed. Damn it, could Old Chen have been compromised? This guy has attended several exchange meetings abroad, and he might really have been compromised. No, I need to call the team leader immediately. Su Kaihuai felt a tightening in his heart. Chen Haoran's strange behavior must be because he is planning to take action. Why take action? The data of the lunar module. This is serious. Chapter 15. Show yourself. Little baby. As the newly appointed head of the Security Bureau, Chen Limin had never felt this exhausted. In the evening, he received a call about a suspected spy at the Computer Research Institute. The spy was trying to steal the orbital parameters of the lunar module. Hearing this news, he immediately jumped up in shock. Now, he was on a helicopter heading to the Computer Research Institute of Huaca University. The institute is located right here. The loud sound of the helicopter blades woke up all the students and teachers living in the dormitory area of Huaca University, especially the students, who rushed to the balcony, curiously looking up at the sky. Wow, is that a G-20? Why is a military aircraft coming to our school? Wow, so cool. Wait, why is it landing on the playground? Is someone important coming over, and why at midnight? In just a few seconds, the military helicopter slowly descending from the sky attracted everyone's attention in the nearby dormitory buildings. On the helicopter, Chen Limin passed around a tablet to the members of the operation team. Chen Haoran, male, 36 years old, is an associate professor at the Computer Research Institute of Huaca University. The information technology colleagues have determined through technical means that this person is colluding with foreign hostile forces, attempting to steal our confidential information. Your mission is to capture him. Yes, National Security Operation Team. Due to Chun Limin's connection with the 237 project, they were among the first teams equipped with the 23 type exoskeleton armor that were not military personnel. Although it felt a bit like using a cannon to shoot a mosquito, Chen Limin thought it was essential to showcase the exoskeleton armor publicly for the first time. He wanted to attract attention and told everyone to put on their most impressive poses. Chen Limin's words made the three soldiers laugh, and the previously tense atmosphere immediately relaxed. Brother Chun, don't worry, we'll make headlines tomorrow. You should be more worried about yourself. Remember to cover your face. We're the operatives, our exposure doesn't matter. Huh? Shut up. We're at the drop point, get out. After saying that, Chen Limin helped to pull open the sliding door of the helicopter. The three soldiers, holding their rifles, exited one after another. In a dormitory on the second floor of Huaca University, Zhang Hetao and his roommates crowded onto the balcony, curiously watching the slowly descending helicopter with eager faces. Old Zhang, you're a military fan. What is the deal with this aircraft? One of his roommates asked curiously. That's true. I'm a military fan, but this is the first time I've seen a G-20 up close. Zhang Hetao was taking pictures with his phone while simultaneously sending messages to his military enthusiast group. Tao, big news. A helicopter just landed at our school in the middle of the night. Charming little puddle. Wow, what school is this, a military academy? That's AZ-20. Moo fish. I'm so envious. I couldn't make it to the last air show, but what's happening here? That must be a dormitory building across the way. Is the Z-20 making an emergency landing? The group owner. Could it be here to capture someone? Haha. Gathering envy and jealousy from netizens, Zhang Hetao once again focused his gaze on the helicopter outside the balcony. He activated the recording function, preparing to document the entire process. The helicopter slowly descended, and when it was about 5 or 6 meters off the ground, the cabin door was pulled open. Then, 3 warriors clad in jet black exoskeleton armor jumped directly from the aircraft. Bang, bang, bang. The dull sound of steel striking the ground made Zhang Hetao's eyes widen. What am I seeing? In disbelief, Zhang Hetao rubbed his eyes, thinking he was hallucinating. But when he opened his eyes again, he saw an even more incredible scene. The 3 warriors, appearing to be clad in incredibly heavy exoskeleton armor, were surprisingly agile, showing no signs of being hindered at all. Moreover, the sharp gleam reflecting under the light was unmistakable. More importantly, what confirmed to Zhang Hetao that this was real was the guns the 3 warriors held. He was certain they were the real deal. Is that really exoskeleton armor? Wow, is this a movie shoot? That armor looks so cool. At this moment, Zhang Hetao's roommates still hadn't realized the seriousness of the situation. Like the other onlookers, they almost thought this was some kind of film production. However, the next scene gradually made all the spectators realize what was happening. The 3 warriors had a clear objective and raised their guns, directly heading towards the teacher's dormitory. The drone had already been launched, and the target was not at home. Where could he be? The signal finally led them to the parking lot. The drone was tracking. Target locked. He's getting into a car. It turned out that upon hearing the sound of the helicopter, Chen Haoran, who had not even started stealing yet, was scared half to death and immediately got up and ran towards the parking lot. He had no idea what was happening outside. No matter what was going on, he figured it was best to drive away. As his car exited the parking lot and approached the apartment building, he happened to encounter the 3 warriors moving swiftly towards him. What the heck? Chen Haoran saw 3 figures in dark armored suits, looking like they were cosplaying Iron Man. And he was utterly shocked. Who are these lunatics playing dress up at this hour? Cursing inwardly, he didn't hesitate and quickly turned the steering wheel to avoid them. But this played right into the hands of the 3 warriors. Shouting, "Catch that car!" The leader was very decisive. He aimed for Chen Haoran's rear tire and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang! A muffled sound. The tire burst, and the vehicle began to sway left and right. In a panic, Chen Haoran slammed on the brakes. The car skidded and drifted straight towards the flower bed. The entire dormitory area was immediately filled with the deafening sound of tires screeching against the ground. Come on, it's my time to perform. The burly man in the team grinned and clapped his hands. With a leap, powered by machinery, he jumped 7 or 8 meters in one bound. 3 steps later, he landed steadily in front of the flower bed. Here it comes. With a hearty laugh, he stepped back and raised both hands. After a brief pause, a car, accompanied by a rush of hot air, came crashing toward him. Oh my! On the balcony, Zhang Hetao was completely dumbfounded. This was truly a case of a mantis trying to stop a car. Bang! A loud collision echoed. Zhang Hetao fearfully opened his eyes slightly. Then, his mouth slowly dropped open, his pupils shook in shock and widened in disbelief. As the smoke cleared, the snow-white car suddenly swayed. Look below! A roommate exclaimed, pointing suddenly. Zhang Hetao followed the drishang. There was a person, lifting the car high with both hands. This scene stunned everyone present. What was lifted was not just a 15-ton car, but the worldview of all the students and teachers on the balcony had been lifted high. It was simply unbelievable. Chapter 16, Exoskeleton, absolutely impressive. The previously noisy dormitory area of the university, which had been filled with inexplicable gunfire, was now so quiet you could hear a pin drop. By the flower bed in the dormitory, a scene unfolded that could only be seen in movies. A robust man, clad in an extremely sci-fi black exoskeleton armor, raised his hands high, lifting a small car above his head. This scene resembled an ancient strongman holding up a giant cauldron. The helicopter's lights shone on his back. And in that moment, all the onlookers were left speechless in shock. Zhang Hetao gripped the balcony railing, leaning out the window, staring intently at the scene before him. An exoskeleton, this is actually real? Downstairs in the dormitory, the capture plan was still ongoing. After being lifted effortlessly, Chen Haoran in the car was already stunned. The vehicle was slowly being lowered. Shouting, open the car door. After the car was set down, 2 teammates immediately raised their guns and approached. Shouting quickly opened the car door and pulled Chen Haoran out. With the support of the exoskeleton armor, Xiao Ding held on to Chen Haoran as if he were a little chick. Search him. Captain, found a USB drive, confirming it contains data from the spacecraft. Good. The captain of the 3-man team nodded upon hearing this, his eyes filled with anger as he looked at Chen Haoran. Damn it, this traitor. If the enemy got hold of the spacecraft's trajectory data, who knows what crazy things they would do. Do you understand what you've done? The captain had no intention of showing kindness to such a person. He placed the USB drive into an evidence bag and sealed it, waving it in front of Chen Haoran. Here, give it to me. This is my thing. You can't take it away. You have no right to take someone else's stuff. Chen Haoran saw the USB drive in the captain's hand and suddenly shuddered, waking up from his shock. He looked anxious, reaching out to the captain, struggling and shouting to snatch the USB drive away. Seeing that he still wasn't giving up, the captain took out a pitch-black identification card and displayed it in front of Chen Haoran. We are from the security agency. You are being arrested for treason due to suspicion of selling state secrets. The word security agency made Chen Haoran panic as he dodged the captain's identification card. His body trembled, and he suddenly collapsed to the ground, crying out in pain. I regret it. I regret it so much. If I had known this, why did I do it in the first place? The captain snorted coldly and said sternly, take him away and bring him back for interrogation. Yes. Xiao Ding and another soldier immediately came over, holding Chun Haoren and heading towards the open door of the helicopter. 3 soldiers, dressed in exoskeleton armor that looked like it was taken from a sci-fi movie, escorted the prisoner onto the helicopter. The helicopter's rotor blades spun wildly as the body slowly ascended. Soon, the aircraft disappeared from view. Although the helicopter had left, all the onlookers still remained in shock at the windows. Wow, that's Associate Professor Chen from the Computer Science Department. Zhang Hetao's roommate recognized the person being taken away and exclaimed in surprise, "What happened to him? It must be something big, they just fired a gun." Now, even the most oblivious person could see the severity of the situation. Just moments ago, the intercepting personnel had fired their weapons directly. In this region, once a gun is fired, nothing is trivial. The exoskeleton, I think the main point is that exoskeleton. Zhang Hetao felt an unparalleled excitement in his heart. He had just witnessed something incredible. A fully covered, metallic, powered exoskeleton armor. Not only were there 3 sets, but one of the soldiers even lifted a small car with both hands using the exoskeleton. It felt like a dream. If someone had told Zhang Hetao online before today that such exoskeleton armor existed in this region, he would have laughed them off. But now he had seen it with his own eyes. It was just too cool. Coming back to his senses, Zhang Hetao immediately checked the video on his phone. Noticing that no one had come to remind him of confidentiality, he quickly understood with his familiar experience. This was an authorized leak. Awesome. His eyes lit up, and in the military enthusiasts group, he immediately started posting frantically. "Hey everyone, look. Wow, military aircraft came to our school. Guess what? Incredible." The group leader, who initially wanted to tease Zhang Hetao a bit and ask about the situation on the ground, opened the video and was shocked. Wow, exoskeleton armor? Wow, isn't that the operational code of the security agency? In the military enthusiasts group, there were quite a few well-informed individuals. As soon as Zhang Hetao's video was posted, it immediately triggered a flurry of wow comments. The group leader, "This is definitely not a movie. A person lifting a car. Are we filming a Marvel movie or what? Charming little puddle. No way, this is a national security matter. That person was pulled out of the car like a little chick. Hetao, it's definitely true. It happened right at our dormitory building, and they caught a deputy professor. They even fired shots on the scene. It was absolutely explosive. Charming little puddle. Which school? Hetao, a university in the region, in the dormitory building, just a few minutes ago. Charming little puddle. Found it. Damn, it's real, it's trending, all members, big trouble. Link, a university reveals exoskeleton. Is it related to this incident? Group leader, wow, that was fast. Mumu, cool, so damn cool. What model is it? Is it in service now? How's the endurance? My heart feels like it's being tickled. This exoskeleton is just too cool. The entire military enthusiasts group, both lurkers and active members, were all brought to life. Of course, with the spread of the video, the online community exploded as well. Under that video on a certain platform, everyone was discussing wildly. Wow, double-handed vehicle, what a Hercules. Is this the latest movie? Why does it look a bit like phone quality? Wow, so cool. Is there a possibility that this is taken by a phone? According to my uncle's cousin's friend's son, this just happened at the university. Is this exoskeleton real? Damn, amazing. Double-handed vehicle, super cool. The people inside the car must be stunned. I'd be dumbfounded too. Who would have thought there would be such a roadblock? It can't be real. How is that possible? Even their armored vehicles can't do this. How could we manage it? If you say it's a certain country, yes, I might believe it. Is the person upstairs a shepherd dog? Why is it impossible? Do they have an extra brain? Oh, it's true that some people might have an extra brain. Confirmed to have drunk contaminated water. Next. Tonight is destined to be a sleepless night. The shocking appearance of the National Security Action Team has thrown a deep water bomb into the already heated public opinion stirred up by the moon landing plan. Chapter 17. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. In a certain palace, the president just finished watching the news from right-wing media. He suddenly stood up and smashed the computer on the table. Fuck. How is this possible? This can't be happening. Just now, the intelligence department confirmed that in a certain area in the northwest, a moon landing rocket engine has begun testing. Moreover, just last night, they publicly revealed a standard exoskeleton armor. After seeing the photos sent by the defense minister, Fred was furious. Are our companies and intelligence departments just for show? This is taxpayer money. How could such important information be revealed by the enemy before we knew? Across from Fred, representatives from the 3 major military-industrial complexes, the director of the space agency, and the CIA director were all sitting upright. They had just arrived that morning and were concerned about the current situation. They originally thought they were just a joke like others. But various pieces of evidence indicated that they were indeed serious. The director of the space agency, Ilariel, had a serious expression as he spoke. This is undoubtedly a signal to escalate the space competition. This marks the beginning of a new Cold War, Your Excellency. I believe our top priority is to respond to the situation. We must complete our return to the moon before they do. I will find a way to make this happen. Frederick's expression darkened as he glanced at the head of the relevant agency, nodding for him to speak. Everyone present felt that, compared to the mysterious exoskeleton, the moon landing was far more deserving of their attention. The agency director, Clyde, spoke in a hoarse voice. Lowering his tone, Your Excellency, we have sent people to steal the lunar spacecraft's orbital data from across the sea, and we are preparing to deploy a satellite network to block their flight path. Even if we are discovered later, we can use the excuse that they did not communicate with us beforehand. Originally, this plan was perfect. Clyde even thought of a cunning tactic. Let them succeed in the first few attempts. Then, during the final launch of their lunar spacecraft, we could use high-powered lasers to directly damage their vessel. This way, their astronauts would be completely wiped out, and such a blow would take them years to recover from. This would undoubtedly buy us more time for our lunar return plan. But I don't want to hear just but. Frederick said impatiently. Slamming his hand on the table, he shouted, "Give me results." Our spy inserted across the sea has been discovered. Clyde shrugged helplessly, explaining under Frederick's piercing gaze. So we have completely lost control of the situation. Unless we forcibly stop them. That's why I'm here. The representative from the military-industrial complex, Pearl, smiled slightly and said respectfully, "Your Excellency, conventional methods can no longer stop them. So we need to take stronger actions. Are you suggesting we start a war?" Frederick furrowed his brow. If two major powers went to war, the consequences would be beyond his capacity to bear. Of course not. We cannot afford the consequences of going to war with another major power. Pearl replied with an eye roll. You really are braver than I am. Thinking about waging war with the second largest economy across the sea. What should we do then? Nothing seems feasible. Frederick had never felt so stuck. In the past, dealing with places like Iraq or Afghanistan was straightforward. Just send in the troops and get it done. We can create some incidents in a specific region to exert pressure on them. Pearl sneered and explained, no defense is perfect. When pressure suddenly arises in that region, while they're distracted, we can breach their lunar program's security and seize the data. As they say, it's a diversion. As Pearl finished speaking, there was a moment of silence among the others present. Frederick narrowed his eyes slightly, turned to the agency director Clyde, and after some thought, quietly asked, "Do you have confidence in seizing their data during this opportunity?" Your Excellency, the director of the intelligence agency is preparing some polite remarks to leave himself a way out. So he doesn't end up saying too much and cutting off his options. Give me a definite answer, Clyde. I want to hear yes or no. Fred shouted angrily, glaring at Clyde. He hissed, I will never allow that country to land on the moon. At least not during my term, absolutely not. Clyde, do you realize that the election is next year? What if they beat us to the moon this century? With a furious shout, Fred crazily smashed his cup on the ground. The sound of the shattering cup startled Clyde. Then, Fred looked at him like a defeated lion, with a sinister gaze, and said loudly, by then, my votes, my stocks will plummet. And you, Clyde, pointing at Clyde as if threatening him. Fred squinted and suddenly grinned. You wouldn't want to know the consequences. Don't forget, besides being the president, I am also a major businessman, deeply entangled with the military-industrial complex. If you dare to say anything negative. Clyde understood the threat in Fred's words. He stood up, placed his right hand on his chest, and slightly bowed. As you wish, we will seize this opportunity to obtain the data. We will lie, cheat, kidnap, and steal. We even have a course dedicated to teaching these skills. This is the glory of our continuous exploration and advancement. This time, we will stop at nothing. Good, Clyde. I look forward to your good news. Finally hearing the answer he wanted, Fred nodded in satisfaction and then looked up at Pearl. The turmoil in the region is up to you. There may be some casualties, Your Excellency. We need to mobilize the troops from the base. Pearl nodded, kindly reminding the president. Casualties. Are you talking about our soldiers, or those from the south? Fred scoffed, finding Pearl's mention of this rather amusing. We can easily promote our soldiers as heroes fighting for the country and mourn the deaths of those caught up in this incident. But do we really care about their lives? Just a bunch of lowly people, especially those from the south. As long as it doesn't harm my company's stocks and doesn't touch the interests of the elites, what does it matter if they die? Focus on the priorities, Pearl. And remember to keep things discreet. I don't want to see those lowly people surrounding my house. Fred waved his hand dismissively. Get a move on. And also, Ilariel. I want to see news about our return to the moon program all over social media in an hour. Yes, Your Excellency. Chapter 18. I want to see what tricks they can play on the other side. Capital City, National Security Agency. Chen Limin stood outside the corridor with a headache when his deputy, Wu Xiaolan, approached and asked with concern, What's wrong, Chen? Still no leads? None at all. This time it's a big catch. Chen Limin rubbed his nose tip and said angrily, This Chen Haoran has confessed everything. The reason he knows that a certain university is secretly calculating the trajectory data for the lunar landing spacecraft is that an offshore intelligence officer directly informed him. Someone from the other side told him directly? Wu Xiaolan frowned, realizing that this was indeed a significant lead. If the confidential information was provided by the enemy, it indicated that there was at least one insider within the aerospace department and not someone of low rank. Otherwise, they wouldn't have access to such sensitive information about the spacecraft's trajectory. This was precisely what troubled Chen Limin. In simple terms, there is an insider within the space agency, and their rank is not low. We must find them, or we'll be in trouble. Considering the recent erratic behavior and the upcoming elections in that region, it was not impossible for some reckless actions to occur. Therefore, the top-secret trajectory data of the spacecraft must not leak. Otherwise, it could lead to a major disaster. This is a silent war, and they absolutely cannot afford to lose. This situation is indeed troublesome. If things go wrong, the entire mission is at risk. Wu Xiaolan's expression also darkened at this. The lunar landing mission is critical. If the enemy obtains the trajectory data, even a single screw appearing in the trajectory could spell disaster for the entire spacecraft. After some contemplation, Wu Xiaolan suddenly had a flash of inspiration and exclaimed, Chun, why don't we draw the snake out of its hole? At that moment, a meeting regarding the lunar program was being held at the National Space Administration. Director Zhao Xiaoming sat at the head of the table. Everyone, the calculation of the spacecraft's trajectory data has encountered issues and has been forced to halt. We have now transferred the data to the computer center in a certain bay, where the staff there will be responsible for it. Since all attendees were individuals involved in the plan, it was not a problem for the director to state this directly. As soon as he finished speaking, a middle-aged man in thick black-rimmed glasses, with an honest appearance, squinted his eyes and quietly noted this information in his mind. Xuemin, how is the scheduling work going? Just as the middle-aged man was lost in thought, Zhao Xiaoming suddenly called his name. A flash of panic crossed his eyes, but he quickly composed himself, looked calmly at Zhao Xiaoming, and replied, the scheduling work has been completed. This time, we directly transferred the safety team for manned spaceflight. They are meticulous and strict, and the work was done very seriously. That's good. Zhao Xiaoming nodded in satisfaction, glancing at everyone present, appearing quite pleased, but inwardly he had already started to suspect someone. This morning, he received news from national security that there was an insider leaking information, and he needed to cooperate to draw out the mole. Upon receiving this news, Zhao Xiaoming's anger boiled within him. He wished he could tie up everyone involved and interrogate them one by one. Damn it. Haven T, I always treated you guys well. Salary, benefits, project status, honors and policies, family resettlement, children's education, elderly care, and welfare, all arranged seamlessly from start to finish. And this is how you repay me? Worse yet, there's even a goddamn mole among you. Really making me proud, huh? If it weren't for having to cooperate with our colleagues from the State Security Bureau, he would already exploded in anger. Zhao Xiaoming was extremely displeased with how the meeting went, so it ended abruptly. He didn't mention a single word about the progress on the lunar spacecraft's manufacturing and testing. He just left in a hurry. At midnight, on the outskirts of the city, several electronic warfare aircraft hovered silently in the sky. The signals intelligence officer was feeling bored, but his sense of duty kept him sharply alert. That very morning, their unit, equipped with the Northern Theater Command's most advanced electronic warfare aircraft, had received an urgent mission. Codename, Rat Extermination. Their orders, 2 aircraft were to patrol just outside the capital city, covering the entire Beijing municipality with radar, monitoring any suspicious transmissions. Now it was already 3 a.m. The officer figured there was no way they'd pick up anything suspicious at this point. The mission was practically over. Great. Time to head back and catch up on some sleep. Rubbing his eyes, he glanced once more at his computer screen, and his pupils instantly contracted. Beep, 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 beep. Out of nowhere, a shortwave radio signal appeared on the previously blank screen. It was a metric band transoceanic shortwave transmission. Origin unknown. Signal captured. Jolted fully awake. The officer immediately began intercepting the transmission. Their explicit orders were to monitor only, not to jam or interfere. Once decrypted, the message read, information should be simulated at the Greater Bay Area Computing Center. The officer had no idea what it meant, but he promptly forwarded it to Northern Theater Command headquarters. A gut feeling told him something big, very big, was about to go down. At the State Security Bureau, Guo Xiaolan walked into Chun Limin's office. She smiled gently, then skipped cheerfully over to Chun Limin and said brightly, Brother Chun, the plan worked. We've hooked the fish. We monitored all 36 attendees of this morning's aerospace conference and confirmed our target. It's a success. Hearing this, Chun Limin was overjoyed. He quickly took the file she handed him and scanned its contents. Zhou Xuemin, dispatcher responsible for coordinating all aspects of China's crewed lunar mission. This is our guy? Exactly, Guo Xiaolan replied with a light chuckle. At 3 a.m., military personnel outside the capital intercepted a radio transmission sent by him. Our surveillance van in Beijing triangulated the signal source and pinpointed his residence. There's no way he can run now. Perfect. The evidence is solid. Chun Limin gave a cold smirk, his eyes filled with admiration as he looked at Guo Xiaolan. Your plan was brilliant. Not only did you lure the snake out of its hole, but you also killed 2 birds with 1 stone. This Zhou Xuemin is merely the inside contact. That means someone else must be heading to the Greater Bay Area to steal the data. This is the perfect opportunity to wipe out this entire network once and for all. China had been open to the world for decades. Faced with the relentless influx of advanced Western technology, domestic traders and corrupt elements had inevitably emerged, though, frankly, none of this surprised Chun Limin in the slightest. Originally, this matter could only be resolved through our own development. However, the situation has changed now. The country intends to make rapid progress and leap forward in stages. Issues that were originally resolved over time will naturally surface as obstacles. Chun Limin is determined to completely eliminate these obstacles. I'm curious to see what tricks these people can come up with. Notify the Eastern Theater Command to bring over their newly established exoskeleton armored unit. Is there really going to be any resistance? Chapter 19. Gathering storm on the Korean Peninsula, at the border between the South and the North. A few soldiers from the South, filled with despair, cut through the barbed wire under the cover of night. Juanqi, do we really have to do this? Jin Jiamin, panicking, trembled slightly after crossing the barbed wire. Do you want to go back? Don't forget how they threatened you. The young soldier known as Juanqi, with tears in his eyes, helplessly replied, Your girlfriend, Shirui, I've seen her. She is a beautiful woman. Yes. Upon hearing this, Jin Jiamin thought of his girlfriend, a gentle woman, and felt that having her was the happiest thing in his life. Such a beautiful woman, we've all secretly envied you. Juanqi suddenly lost control of his emotions, lowering his voice to nearly a shout. If we don't do this, what will they do? What will those shameless people do? Aren't there enough women harmed at the military base every year? After they harm those people, what happens next? They just walk away, as if nothing happened. Jean Jimin. Understand this. Jiunshi, almost hysterical, pointed at Jean Jimin and yelled, "They're watching us, and if you don't satisfy them, your family, your beautiful woman, will all be tortured by them." Yes, I understand. Jean Jimin's eyes were full of despair as he glanced back at his country. The strength that politicians praised was so false, like a bubble that would burst upon touch. They were all merely puppets of that terrifying country across the water. Slowly closing his eyes, he opened them again, this time with more determination. For the sake of his family, he had no choice but to proceed. Be quiet. Let us go. Seeing Jean Jimin adjust his mindset, Jiunshi let out a sigh. This time they were entering the north, with no return. This act was solely for their families. Filled with hatred towards those people, Jiunshi led a team of 12 into a village in the north. A kilometer away. At a lookout post, several soldiers observed through binoculars as the group went from arguing to accepting reality and began to act. They could hear the entire process on recording. "John, this is quite interesting. What is interesting about it? Just the last struggles of a monkey. No, it's not even worthy of being called a monkey." The burly man continued to observe Jiunshi and the others, sneering. "Mike, you should know that the South is just a dog we raised. In the country established at our military base, the people here have no right to refuse." Speaking of Philip, he went off to have some fun. Saying he has taken a liking to a housewife who has a daughter, both of whom are quite attractive. John spoke in a detached tone, in his mind. This was just a normal occurrence. He usually had plenty of fun. The nearby high school was a regular haunt. To be honest, those students from the South were really quite young. They knew how to have a good time, and he reminded them to handle things properly. If they caused trouble, they would be sent back immediately. Don't worry, he had already checked. The husband of that mother-daughter pair was at our base, so there wouldn't be any issues. Just right. I'll give it a try next time too. Suit yourselves, just remember to clean up after. July 20th marked the completion and quality inspection of a launch site in a certain sea area, as the launch platform for a lunar rocket. This should have been news capable of shaking the world. However, regrettably, this major announcement only ranked second in online trending topics. The first was an unexpected incident that occurred last night. Early in the morning, the public in the eastern region woke from their dreams, opened their phones, and were met with explosive news that flooded social media. The people were outraged. A small team from the south invaded the north last night, indiscriminately shooting 26 people in Hanming village. A shocking tragedy. Soldiers from the south committed an atrocity that enraged both gods and men. The northern forces, numbering in the millions, were gathering at the border, and a major conflict seemed imminent. Meanwhile, a certain aircraft carrier was setting sail, with a dual-carrier fleet converging in the Yellow Sea. In a hurry, the Eastern Fleet and Northern Fleet set out, facing off against the dual-carrier fleet at sea. News was everywhere, every minute. Updates were posted on social media. The entire Yellow Sea area had turned into a massive powder keg. The news spread rapidly across the globe, capturing the attention of all countries and all humanity, not just the two nations involved. Most critically, it was the superpowers behind them, the Eastern region and another major power. If these two clashed, the entire world would be in jeopardy. Therefore, it was rare for certain Western countries to panic and immediately have their foreign ministries issue statements. France called for restraint from both sides, emphasizing that the situation on the peninsula should move towards peace and stability. Germany stated that both parties should set aside their differences, with the key now being to ascertain the reasons for the southern team's incursion into the north and to prepare for calming measures and compensation. The UK urged all parties to remain calm. And then there was another major power, which exclaimed, "Hey, why didn't you invite me to join in on taking down the other major power?" Subsequently, this power swiftly mobilized, drawing from its armored divisions in the Far East to assemble a force of 500,000 troops, rapidly gathering at the northern border. Some sensationalist media in a certain southern region even went as far as to proclaim that the Third World War was about to begin. Even the usually boisterous local and southern media were utterly stunned. The southern region remarked, "What? My people did this. I wasn't involved. Why are you all looking at me? What? The North is gathering 1 million troops at the border, preparing to march south?" The inexplicable situation in the southern region has led to a desperate request for military assistance, aiming to assemble forces for defense. After all, with the capabilities of the southern region, they truly cannot withstand the aggressive retaliation from the northern region. Upon receiving approval from their allies, the southern side finally breathed a sigh of relief and began to gather troops for defense, albeit belatedly. In no time, the shadow of war loomed over the entire peninsula. Meanwhile, the neighboring country was taken aback as well. Their own naval forces were confronting another power in the Yellow Sea, and from the looks of it, a real conflict seemed imminent. The small nation found itself caught in the middle of a clash between two major powers, potentially becoming the fool in this scenario. Despite their usual bravado, it is often said that the barking dog does not bite. The vocal displays were merely a show of confidence backed by a strong ally, knowing that an actual conflict was unlikely. However, if a real confrontation were to occur, the small nation would quickly show its apprehension. After all, if their ally were to fail, they could easily retreat from the region, but the small nation would have nowhere to go, stuck right in the middle of the fray. As the situation escalated, the small nation's fleet finally made its way to the scene after much delay. The atmosphere was tense, with the moment they encountered the nearby fleet leading to electromagnetic interference, disrupting communications between ships. In the skies above, electronic warfare aircraft from two major powers had already begun their covert operations. On the surface of the Yellow Sea and the land of the peninsula, tensions were palpable. Over 200 countries around the world were on high alert, following the movements of these three parties. This was no trivial matter. It was a serious confrontation brewing between two major powers over the southern and northern regions. Sensing that their ally might be serious about their intentions, the northern forces quietly mobilized 500,000 troops along the border. Of course, the land forces of the three sides were not as quick to respond as the naval fleets. However, if this standoff continued, the peninsula could see a buildup of 2 million troops within a month. Should even a spark ignite, the consequences would be unimaginable. Moreover, it was clear that the northern side had genuinely been provoked. The southern soldiers had inexplicably slaughtered the citizens of the north, and as a sovereign nation, the northern side could not simply tolerate such actions. That afternoon, disregarding multiple warnings from international bodies, artillery units opened fire on the southern military positions. The southern side immediately retaliated, leading to 2 hours of intense shelling between the two parties, with casualties quickly rising to 400. Furthermore, around the dividing line, both sides began to set up minefields. The northern media issued a solemn declaration to the world. Our people have suffered unwarranted slaughter. The southern side has effectively declared war on us. From this day forward, our nuclear missiles are aimed at relevant targets, and should there be any movement from imperialist forces, we will not hold back. Along with the announcement, a video was also played. It showed the Mars series ballistic missiles standing upright on their launchers. Once the video was released, the tension escalated significantly. Even allies of that country quickly called to remind them not to escalate the situation. When it comes to nuclear weapons, everyone ends up losing. It seems that the threats from the northern region had a real impact, or perhaps the other side felt they were in deep waters as well. During a press conference, a serious warning was issued to a certain country, calling for both sides to remain calm and proposing measures to cool down the situation on the peninsula. The other side also changed its usual stance. They first issued a stern warning during the press conference, stating that their fleet was dispatched to prevent incursions from the north into the south, aiming to maintain fairness and order, and expressing their willingness to mediate between the two parties. Moreover, they proposed to invite diplomats from relevant nations to gather at the designated line and discuss how to resolve the issue together. For this rare proposal, over 200 countries around the world quickly urged the three parties, no, 5 parties, to agree. After careful consideration, the two nations felt there were no traps and gladly accepted, agreeing to meet on July 29th at a specific location for discussions. It seemed that the curtain on the Third World War was about to end in a fizzle rather than a bang, as the world, including the domestic side, focused on the peninsula. On a remote beach in the south, several boxes floated ashore. Soon after, a group of tourists with high noses and fair skin quietly arrived at this deserted beach. Upon opening the boxes, they found them filled with weapons. Everyone, the mission has been assigned. Our main objective is to wait for instructions after the internal support fails, to forcefully break in and obtain the data. The leading figure among them raised his arm and whispered instructions. We understand. Everyone responded in unison. After collecting their gear and getting ready, the team leader, a man named X, said with a hint of solemnity, "We are all unfortunate people whose families have been captured. We definitely want to return alive from this operation. I hope they will truly spare our families. May there be no such country in the next life. Amen." After a brief prayer, a team of 12 quietly boarded a pre-prepared van. From the appearance of the van, it was clear that the person who proposed the attack had planned this in advance. The van looked quite old and had various ads for refrigerator repairs and TV collection plastered on it, giving it a very down-to-earth feel. This was suitable for concealment. Upon arriving at the designated location, X glanced at the communicator and observed the people casually walking outside the van, filled with regret. I hope that spy succeeds. In a secret room at the Gulf Computer Research Center, the room had been transformed into a command center. Chun Li-min and a colonel in combat uniform were seated together, looking solemnly at the content on the screen. According to intelligence reports, an unmanned drone had spotted a group of armed individuals on the beach. Damn it, what do these people want to do? Chun Li-min was somewhat perplexed. Is that country going crazy? They come to steal data, and if the spy fails, we will know their intentions. Due to the situation, the country has become vigilant and is secretly calculating data. What can the other side do about it? Is this something they can stop? This serves as a warning to us. If we continue with our plans, they will stop at nothing. The senior officer sneered. The calculations from that country are quite clear. At this point, whether they can obtain the data is just a pretext. The key is that this attitude must be firmly established. They will stop at nothing. Will we not do the same? The senior officer was clearly angry. Just because they can show their displeasure, we are still determined to launch this spacecraft, and no one can stop us. I immediately contacted the Northwest region to restart the nuclear test plan, challenging them to come if they dare. Pointing at the van in the footage, he turned to his deputy and said seriously, "Evacuate the surrounding civilians and let the exoskeleton armored troops deal with them, leaving none behind." Yes. The deputy immediately saluted and quickly left. "Sir, restarting nuclear tests, won't that create too much noise?" Chun Lining was quite surprised. Wouldn't it be too much to escalate things directly? The international situation has already changed. Peace is no longer the mainstream. With the transition of old and new powers, there will inevitably be friction, and we need to start preparing. The senior officer chuckled and explained, after so many years of stability, does everyone really think the world is at peace? And don't worry, the tactical nuclear weapon we are launching this time has a very small yield. So there is no need to be concerned. Let them know that they are not the only ones who will stop at nothing. As for giving them an excuse, we have already been bullied to our doorstep. Why should we fear that? I understood. Chen Liming nodded repeatedly. This time, the country is no longer as weak and impoverished as it was a century ago. From a strength perspective, that country is no longer qualified to look down on us. All right, let's begin the operation. Several helicopters flew towards the beach. Meanwhile, in the park nearby, plainclothes police began to disperse the onlookers. Next to the Computer Institute, a large area was even cordoned off. From behind a building, 3 teams of 9 individuals, wearing exoskeleton armor, were quickly approaching the van. Chapter 21. In 3 seconds. You become my acquaintance in the Greater Bay Area, at the computer laboratory. In the computing room, after most people had left, a careful technician walked into the data reading area. This was a place the team leader had always prohibited her from accessing. Based on intelligence, it was supposed to be the orbital data for the lunar landing rocket. Oof, what orbital data? With this, I can finally leave this annoying place for good. The technician sneered, took out a disk, and prepared to copy the midterm data of the orbit. Just as she inserted the disk into the machine, the lights in the room suddenly turned on. Chen Liming emerged from the corner, followed by several national security agents, who rushed over and tackled the technician to the ground. Huh, you think you can leave here? You must really hate it here, huh? Your crime is enough for a life sentence, with no chance of reduction. I'm sorry, but you will have to stay in this place that you find detestable for the rest of your life. Chen Liming rarely heard this person's excuses, and he was already disgusted by the regretful words after being caught. Betrayal is betrayal. He had no desire to understand those who betrayed their country and their people. Press on. Next, they would wait for the results from the senior officer. Capturing this spy was quite simple. The entire area was just bait they had thrown out. The real data had been transferred to a military research institute after the first signs of theft. There, due to procedural issues, it was absolutely secure. However, they hadn't expected that this time the catch was really big. Even armed elements were drawn out. In the area, in a van, X waited for an hour, watching as the surrounding people gradually disappeared. What happened? Where did everyone go? He felt a sense of panic and asked anxiously. Don't worry, they probably went to work. It's Tuesday, and it's already 9 o'clock. His companion managed to force a smile. Ding dong. Just as the two were talking, the communicator in X's phone suddenly emitted a sound. Looking down, X's expression changed dramatically, and he whispered, Everyone, the spy hasn't reported the data as scheduled. The mission has failed. We need to take action. Let's go. The target is the computer data center on the 6th floor. Move. 8 people poured out of the small van in succession. They coordinated seamlessly, armed and advancing towards the computer center. However, the further they went, the more uneasy X felt. It was too quiet, unnaturally quiet. They held their guns and maintained combat posture. Such an anomaly would make anyone stop and look. Yet, in reality, they encountered no one along the way. Something's off, everyone stay alert. X immediately reminded them. But at that moment, a dull gunshot rang out from behind a distant concrete barrier. Bang! Immediately, one of X's companions fell beside him. Sniper, take cover, we've been discovered. The remaining 7 immediately dove for cover. Some hid behind cars, others behind stone pillars. X never expected that their movements would be discovered. Damn it. How many of them are there? I don't know. The person hiding with X changed direction, cautiously peeking out. And then his pupils constricted sharply. What the hell is that? Armor? What? X frowned in confusion, also changing direction and slightly peeking out. But just this one peek left him frozen in place. It turned out that not far from them, 3 enemies were standing openly in the open space. However, these 3 were wearing heavy full-body exoskeleton armor. They were holding guns and quickly approaching. Shoot a few rounds to test it out. X immediately ordered. What the hell is that? Let's fight. His companion immediately peeked out, raised his AK, and fired a burst. The bullets shot out, hitting the exoskeletons of the 3 individuals. Clang, 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 clang. However, only the crisp sound of metal colliding was heard, and the exoskeleton armor didn't even have its metal skin broken. Just a few small marks appeared. Damn it, how could there be such things? X's pupils constricted sharply. How are we supposed to fight this? They're coming from both sides. X, we're surrounded by these monsters. What do we do? Just as X hesitated, 6 identical exoskeletons were approaching from both sides. They were trapped in the middle. RPG, get the RPG out. I refuse to believe that RPGs want to work on them. X was sweating profusely. After so many years as a mercenary, this was the first time he encountered such a tricky situation. When did they start mass-producing these exoskeletons? I'm coming, RPG. Upon hearing X's command, a team member quickly pulled out the RPG from behind, loaded it, shouted, and decisively pulled the trigger. Whoosh! The rocket shot out, leaving a trail of white smoke, heading straight for the exoskeleton. X clenched his fists. Success or failure rested on this moment. In just 1 second. Due to the short distance, the rocket got closer to the target. However, the next scene left X in terror. As the rocket approached the steel monster, a small tube opened behind it. Whoosh! A small rocket flew out, directly smashing into the incoming RPG rocket. Active defense. This exoskeleton armor actually has active defense. Bang. The RPG exploded, sending shrapnel flying. When it hit the exoskeleton armor, the sound of crisp metal collision echoed. But to X, this pleasant sound felt like the whispers of Satan, the roar of demons. Fully upgraded exoskeleton army. Here we go. Monsters, monsters. X's companions beside him were dumbfounded. This is a humanoid tank, right? Charging forward with the RPG, what could they do against such a powerhouse? Bang. A dull sound rang out. It turned out that something had extended from the back of the exoskeleton armor. X focused closely. A square box turned, facing them. Wait. Why are there 8 holes on the box? Oh no, it's an 8-tube rocket launcher. Get down. X shouted in terror and immediately dropped to the ground. At the same time, a deep fear took root in his heart. This firepower is terrifying. Is this the creation of some enthusiast in firepower superiority theory? Is the 8-tube rocket launcher meant to take them out one by one? Amid X's panic, 3 explosions suddenly rang out outside the Bay Area. With the 3 blasts, X and his companions fell into eternal slumber. 3 explosive rounds turned them and their enemies into familiar faces. Chapter 22. Determining the launch time. The changes in this world are truly rapid. Just this morning, a certain country agreed to negotiate near the border, discussing a peaceful resolution to the incident on the peninsula. However, shortly after, the Ministry of Defense released news about conducting underground nuclear explosion tests for tactical nuclear weapons in a certain desert in the northwest. This news took the world by surprise. This is a response directed at us. It is surely a warning. Fred angrily threw his teacup to the ground, shouting hysterically at Clyde. I created an opportunity for you. Where's my data? Fred was almost laughing in anger. The last time a country dared to speak to him like this was over 30 years ago, and the opposing side that had the audacity to do so was long gone. This time was no different. Fine, tactical nuclear weapons indeed. The Ministry of Defense should just toss them into the Pacific for me to hear. After saying this, and feeling more enraged due to the failure of the plan, Fred once again slammed the documents in his hand. Yes, sir. At this moment, Minister of Defense Vano did not dare to provoke Fred further. He nodded and prepared to act immediately. All of you get out. Fred roared, throwing a few more items nearby. He was a presidential candidate, and now everything was ruined. A certain country's lunar rocket had already started assembly on the launch pad, and now, without the orbital data, it was too late. Damn it, a bunch of useless fools. They can't even handle this minor task. Clyde, you worthless piece of trash, go die? Outside the office, Clyde's face was somewhat pale. He knew that if he could not satisfy Fred within the day, he would be finished. Fred was not only the president, but also a capitalist on Wall Street. This country had long become a playground for capitalists. Offending someone could lead to a shattered family, and that would just be the beginning. The credit for any success had to be something Fred could brag about. Clyde started brainstorming. Since the launch of the lunar rocket had become an unstoppable fact, what could spark the public's rebellious sentiment? Plagiarism, that's right. I need to find evidence to prove that their rocket was stolen from us. And this evidence must persuade the public. In order to save his own life, Clyde's mind was racing. Suddenly, he came up with the best idea. He clapped his hands. Yes, exactly like that. Fred only wanted to maintain the fragile pride of the public to ensure continued support for voting. Everything else was not important. Realizing this, Clyde quickly picked up the pace. He had to save himself. On July 27th, in the northwest, there was a tremendous rumble. A tactical nuclear warhead was detonated underground. The explosion was complete, with no residual radioactive materials detected. The large crater created by the explosion served as a reservoir beneath the snowy mountains, supplying irrigation water for nearby farmland. To reassure the public and prove that the water was completely usable, after 3 meters of water had accumulated by the 28th. Biological Safety and Chemical Defense Troops, Major General Cheng Bicheng, and the provincial governor, personally jumped into the river during a nationwide live broadcast, swimming 2 laps. The chat room was filled with excitement. People were amazed, and said it was at least more reliable than the neighboring place, where they didn't even dare to drink. Can the neighboring area compare to this? Didn't you see the governor went down and choked on a few mouthfuls? Haha, to be fair, they were swimming quite slowly. Wait, why is someone knocking at my door? The old general swam much faster. Haha, not holding back at all. By the way, can this water be sold? Let's give it a name, Nuclear Explosion Lake Water. Haha, it would definitely sell well. The business genius upstairs. Wow, I'm actually tempted to try it. This move by the country can be seen as a multi-purpose strategy, both intimidating others and benefiting the people. This artificial lake, if managed properly, can at least satisfy irrigation needs for thousands of acres. Of course, internationally, there are many criticisms about this matter. However, unexpectedly, no one dared to speak up. Even the usual loudmouths, the southern and eastern factions, didn't dare to make a sound. After all, the 3 major bullies ahead were ready to clash. At this moment, the situation was unclear, and no small country was bold enough to act recklessly. Even at the United Nations meeting, no one dared to condemn the violation of the treaty on ending atmospheric nuclear tests. After all, they are the ones who set the rules. If pushed too hard, they might just walk away from the table, leaving others to watch helplessly. When the 2 major powers argued at the UN, small countries could only choose to crouch between standing and sitting. At the Shishan base, underground facilities. Recently, Fang Jing mainly maintained contact with the world of the wandering earth and occasionally selected some necessary technologies to bring over. This included various communication technologies and AI control technologies. Don't underestimate these things. Learning from finished products in the wandering Earth world can save many years of hard work. For example, control technology. The control and response of exoskeleton weapon systems greatly enhance combat capabilities. Another thing worth celebrating for Fang Jing is that the quantum communication pathway within the base has finally been installed. This means Fang Jing can now access the internet at the base. This was a significant opportunity opened up for him, as it would be unlikely to set up a network in a base of this level otherwise. Regardless, after being offline for many days, he could finally surf the internet again, which excited him greatly. As a result, when he turned on his phone after many days, connecting to Wi-Fi, he was immediately drawn to a live broadcast communication. The first live broadcast of the lunar rocket's launch experiment? It's about to launch. Filled with excitement, Fang Jing couldn't wait to enter the live room. The live room was pitch black, but there were quite a few people. A flood of netizens gathered here, chatting in the comments. Why was the screen still black? If you have the ability to go live, why not turn on the camera? Hurry up and show the lunar rocket. I can't wait, it must succeed. Calm down, everyone, calm down, it's only the 29th. The launch is still 2 days away, what's the rush? Sleepless nights. I've been insomnia for a month. What the heck? Where did the gods above come from? Just as the topic in the live stream chat was starting to go off track, suddenly, the screen flickered. The camera showed an image. The footage was facing a giant structure on the beach, towering at 150 meters. This was a massive launch tower. At that moment, the launch tower was in a closed state, with a huge steel casing covering the rocket. Although the true form of the rocket was not visible, just from the towering giant building, it was clear that this rocket was not a small one. At the same time, the live stream also showed the control room. Look, on the big screen at the front of the control room, the launch time was displayed, July 31st at 1:20 a.m. Chapter 23, we wanted to go up. So we did. The country had publicly announced the specific time for the lunar rocket launch. This news topped the headlines of media outlets worldwide the next morning. Even the announcement from the previous day about a nuclear test in the Pacific was overshadowed by this news. Meanwhile, within the country, rumors circulated in the media claiming that the lunar rocket had stolen technology from a well-known space program. These rumors began to grow larger. A writer from a news outlet even publicly stated that spies were sent to steal technical information. In response, a high-ranking official released evidence of stolen data from a space agency's database on social media. Consequently, netizens from both countries clashed online. I said, how could they possibly have such technology? Turns out it was stolen, commented a netizen from the southern region. Haha, you go and steal one. Let me see if you can make it, responded a netizen from the country. This rocket is bound to fail, it will definitely explode mid-air, commented a user from India. Sounding quite bitter. Better than your daily plane crashes? Oh, and submarines that can really dive, retorted a netizen from the country. We will see the most expensive fireworks in history on the 31st, joked a user from another country. Thanks for the invitation. But the largest fireworks belong to the Soviet Union. We want to take the blame for that. To retort, we had to suffer a bit for the big guy. In short, many people online held a pessimistic attitude. Some even went so far as to curse. The domestic netizens reading this were on the verge of high blood pressure. The more negativity they saw, the more anticipation they felt. They looked forward to the rocket's success. They looked forward to slapping those naysayers in the face. As time slowly passed, the domestic public grew increasingly tense. Fang Jing at the base felt the same tension. He never expected that things up there would be so grand. Isolated from the outside world for just over half a month, it felt like everything outside was about to change dramatically. Fortunately, these changes were within his expectations. The country would surely take steady steps toward the stars amidst this transformation. After all, our journey is toward the stars and the sea. The technology of the wandering Earth world alone is enough for our nation to officially step into the cosmos. Fang Jing looked at the sky in the live broadcast and the enormous launch tower. This is just the beginning of a major transformation. Don't be surprised yet. There is more to come that will astonish you. Landing on the moon is merely a warm-up. What will you do when I present the space elevator? On the evening of July 30th, outside the Space Command Center in the South China Sea, Zhu Jinsheng was on the phone with Fang Jing, offering some words of comfort before stepping out of the car. In front of him were a throng of reporters. They frantically pressed their shutters and extended microphones to ask him questions. Mr. Zhu, when was our country's moon landing plan prepared? Do you have confidence in this launch? What is the name of our moon landing rocket? Faced with the overwhelming inquiries, Zhu raised his hand to calm the crowd, and the reporters immediately quieted down. Everyone, please enter the conference room. He didn't want to answer questions here. That would undoubtedly waste time. Leading a multitude of reporters into the command center hall, Zhu stood on a platform. He adjusted the microphone to ensure everything was in order and scanned the audience. His authoritative presence compelled all the reporters to listen. At this moment, the moon landing live broadcast switched to this location. After a brief pause, Zhu smiled and declared in a clear voice, "Ladies and gentlemen, in 5 hours, we will conduct the launch experiment of our manned moon landing spacecraft. After discussions at the space agency, we have decided to name this flight rocket Storm Number 9, and the moon landing mission will be called the Lunar Embrace Plan." After explaining the names of the rocket and the mission, Zhu's expression turned serious as he looked at the reporters and then out at the bright moon. In a somewhat hoarse voice, he asked everyone present, "Why have we chosen to land on the moon now? Do you think it's sudden and unprepared? The reporters below exchanged glances. These two questions were not only theirs, but echoed the thoughts of people worldwide. Why, all of a sudden, does our nation announce that it will launch a moon landing rocket in a month, aiming to achieve a manned moon landing within the year? This is indeed too quick. For space missions that typically require 1 or 2 years of preparation, this time is undoubtedly unusual. Seeing the puzzled expressions on everyone's faces, Zhu smiled slightly. Confidence appearing on his face, he gently lifted his head, cleared his throat, and passionately exclaimed, "We are choosing to go to the moon now, not because it is difficult, but because it is no longer that difficult. We have ample talent and technological readiness, and a stable advancement plan. This is not a Cold War mentality, where we take risks just to compete with a certain opposing camp for political discourse, no matter how challenging it may be. We choose to land on the moon simply because we believe we can and should go to the moon. We choose to land on the moon because we think technology is no longer a barrier. We want to go, so we are doing it." His resounding voice echoed in the command hall for a long time. As soon as he finished speaking, the hall erupted with excited applause from the reporters. Zhu's words are truly inspiring and make us proud. We choose to go to the moon not to compete with others for discourse power, but because our technology is no longer a challenge. We want to go, so we are doing it. What a confident and prideful reason. When the press conference reached its peak, the atmosphere in the live broadcast room was electrifying. We want to go, so we did it. Such boldness, Zhu, is impressive. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. This is like a rallying speech. Incredible. We can and should go to the moon. Wow, wow, wow. In 5 hours. If everything goes well, let's go for it. Zhu's speech is indeed thrilling. I felt my blood boiling. Fang Jing at the base was also feeling the excitement. He thought this video would definitely be a treasured legacy in the future. Such a classic speech is bound to be remembered in history. The line, "We want to go, so we did it," is filled with confidence and determination. Wow, landing on the moon. Fang Jing was filled with anticipation. It's not just about the act of landing, but also the fact that after landing, the country would likely start building a moon base without hesitation. Once the moon base is successfully constructed, he would understand what that sudden thought in his mind meant. Come on, let's go to the moon and establish a moon base. The moon base, haha. The stars and the sea have never been this close to us. In the blink of an eye, 5 hours passed, and the lunar rocket was preparing for launch. Chapter 24. A successful launch at 1 a.m. On July 31st, the protective cover had been opened, and the rocket was fully revealed to the public. The straight arrow body has a diameter of over 10 meters and a height of up to 150 meters. The Storm 9 is primarily composed of 16 main engines and 28 attitude control engines. It boasts a cold, sleek black and white color scheme, which is rare among rockets from this country. The fuel injection port is emitting a mist of condensed water vapor. The entire rocket stands like a sword gleaming in the fog. Countless lights shine upon it. Tonight, it is undoubtedly the main star of the world, with everyone's attention focused on it. In the command hall, the director of the space agency, Zhang Xiaoming, looked at Zhu Jincheng with a mix of amusement and exasperation, saying, "Old Zhu, couldn't you have given us a few more months? With our current funding, we could have made a reusable rocket and saved quite a bit. Who needs a reusable rocket? What we need is efficiency. Use it and forget it." Zhu Jincheng rolled his eyes, finding it hard to explain to this young guy. Should I tell you that once we establish a moon base and cooperate with the other world, a space elevator won't be just a dream? Besides, that world has planetary engines. A mere hydrogen-oxygen engine rocket, to be honest, doesn't impress me. Once we sort things out, wouldn't it be better to get a fusion engine instead? The utility of recoverable chemical rockets is significant, especially now that they can land on Mars. The nation has aspirations in this area, and it's no longer a technical issue. Previously, it was a matter of funding. Currently, there seems to be a lack of interest in this technology. Chemical rocket engines are considered transitional tools, used and discarded without much concern. They are not particularly valuable. Once the technology for exoskeleton batteries becomes more accessible for civilian use, the investment will quickly pay off. Yes, you've secured the funding and technology. It's up to you. Zhang Xiaoming responded with a nod of resignation upon hearing Zhu Jincheng's words. The reality is that they cannot compete with larger forces. After the completion of the lunar mission, they will gradually explore recoverable technology. Zhu, we have 1 minute until launch. An assistant researcher reminded as the two were conversing. At the announcement, both of them refocused their attention on the large screen. Attention all units, 1 minute countdown preparation. The commander's clear, resonant voice echoed. Separation successful, tower detached. Understood, 30-second countdown. The entire hall fell silent following the last command. Simultaneously, the live stream chat also came to an unexpected halt. Everyone watching the broadcast held their breath, eyes glued to the massive rocket on screen. Around the world, space enthusiasts from various nations awaited patiently. Fang Jing was at the base with teammates like Zhou Yuan. Fists clenched, feeling immense tension. 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Boom. The live broadcast shifted to the launch pad. As the ignition command was given, the igniter burst into flames, igniting the fuel spewing from the rocket's engine. A massive fireball erupted from the rocket's nozzle. The gigantic rocket, measuring 150 meters in length and weighing 7,000 tons, slowly ascended amidst a blaze of fire, gaining speed rapidly. Onlookers at the beach could only see the tail flame from the rocket's nozzle. The dark South China Sea beach was suddenly lit up as if it were daytime. Tourists who had come to witness the event looked up in awe, exclaiming in amazement. The beach was filled with gasps of wonder, interspersed with some local expressions of excitement. Meanwhile, in the command center, the commander issued another command. Attention all departments. Launch time is 23 minutes, 45 seconds, and 30 milliseconds. Wenshang, remote sensing and control are normal. Xishan, optical radar tracking is normal. Yuan Wang, 1, remote sensing and control are normal. The strong, rhythmic voices resonated in the control room, showcased to the world through the live broadcast. At that moment, all viewers and citizens felt an overwhelming sense of exhilaration. They dared not cheer, focused intently on the live footage and the aerospace personnel present. The rocket, under another angle, gradually vanished into the clouds, shining brightly like the sun. The flight continued, but the ground could only capture the rocket's vague silhouette. Fortunately, the live broadcast switched back to the control center. The camera on the rocket was recording its flight process. Suddenly, a series of urgent machine beeps from the control center made all the viewers' hearts race. What was happening? The rocket had reached the expected altitude, and the first and second stages were about to separate. The commander's orders were quick and clear. First and second stage separation completed. In the footage, the robust rocket's first stage was pushed away, slowly descending toward the vast ocean, while the second stage ignited immediately after separation. Second stage ignition successful. It was entering the designated orbit. Boom. At that moment, the command center erupted in enthusiastic applause. The tension on the faces of all the aerospace staff vanished. Some stood up excitedly, some hugged each other, and others waved their arms. Great. In the distance, Zhu was also filled with excitement. The first launch was a complete success. This was a great start. The fairing opened, the solar panels unfolded normally, and the payload had reached the designated position. All telemetry centers, please confirm. Confirmation from Wenshang completed. Confirmation from Xishan completed. Dawn understood. Until this moment, a relieved smile finally appeared on the commander's face. This was a thorough success. The second stage rocket, with its powerful thrust, naturally entered orbit at a faster speed. On the large screen in the command center, a bright red display lit up instantly. It boldly announced that the launch of the Storm No. 9 remote rocket was a complete success. Tonight was destined to be an exciting night. In the live broadcast room, the excitement had already erupted. It worked, wow, wow, wow. The lunar landing plan is about to begin, looking forward to it. One shot to the soul. Who else could compare? Incredible. Besides the online celebration, on the beach outside the launch center, people were also singing and dancing after receiving the news of the successful launch on their phones. A group of middle-aged people excitedly raised the national flag. The flag fluttered in the wind on the beach. A crowd, shoulder to shoulder and hand in hand, danced and sang ode to the motherland. It was reminiscent of the time when the J-20 flew low during an air show, and they sang in unison amidst the roar of the engines. Singing for our beloved motherland, moving towards prosperity and strength from now on. Chapter 25. Informing the truth at the Xishan base, underground section. After the launch work was completed, Zhu personally came here. Upon seeing Fang Jing, the smile on his face didn't fade. He patted Fang Jing's shoulder vigorously and said excitedly, "You saw the news too. It was a great success. The lunar landing plan has officially been established, and the subsequent rockets are being built at full speed. The lunar landing spacecraft, including the lunar base and astronauts, are in urgent selection. You have a share of this achievement." Zhu Lao is too modest. "Look, everyone is working hard. And I can't just sit idle. Otherwise, my elder would definitely scold me." Fang Jing exchanged pleasantries, feeling a bit proud inside. However, his words were sincere. Zhu Lao, as an elder scientist, is someone who has devoted everything for the country and is his idol. Although he feels he is far from it. Now that he has the capability, he wants to learn and get closer. Every time he hears someone say they are willing to humble themselves for the sake of the country, it resonates deeply with him. Ha ha ha, let's not talk about this anymore. Apart from coming to share this good news with you. Zhu Lao paused, squinting as he took out a book from his pocket and handed it to Fang Jing. Having benefited from the situation, someone hopes to deepen communication with the counterpart, so it's time to reveal some information. Fang Jing, puzzled, took the book and looked at the cover. Goodness, the setting collection of The Wandering Earth. How did this come about? Hee. We specifically visited the author and director to ask them to compile the setting collection, and we even conducted some experiments. Zhu Lao smiled slightly and reminded Fang Jing, "After you go, remember to ask if there was a blue meteor with a tail flying over the country at 6:23 a.m. yesterday." Fang Jing's mind was momentarily blank, but he quickly understood Zhu Lao's intention. So that's how it is. Invite the author and director over to modify the setting collection. Then see if the changes in this universe regarding the work will affect the world of the Wandering Earth. That's the experiment. So, the author and director modified the setting collection? Fang Jing raised an eyebrow and immediately inquired. No, the original novel, movies 1 and 2, and the background settings have all been changed. Zhu Lao squinted, and his words startled Fang Jing. This was completed within a month? Easily. Hiss. Fang Jing inhaled sharply, and silently mourned for Lu and director Gua for 2 seconds. They must have been pushed hard. Ha ha ha. Well done. He had wanted to do this for a long time. The second film was released, and the third should be finished, right? Not finished. Furious. These are the 2 matters to discuss this time, remember? Zhu Lao smiled cheerfully. Got it, I will ensure it's done. Fang Jing also wanted to see how the other side would handle this book. Well, that's enough. I still need to negotiate with the aerospace sector, electric vehicle companies, and the military drone project department, so I'll take my leave. Goodbye, Zhu Lao. Fang Jing smiled as he bid farewell. He knew that Zhu Lao had been responsible for external communications regarding Project 237. He also filtered out all the questions and doubts about the plan before they reached him. So his work is indeed busy. Coming over specifically shows that he truly values Fang Jing. However, Fang Jing definitely wouldn't disappoint him, as this time, he is tasked with finding a way to obtain the intelligent AI design data from the other party. This book must be given. But the way and content of giving it depend on the mutual understanding between both sides. Fang Jing smiled slightly and casually took out the novel The Wandering Earth from the drawer. The novel The Wandering Earth and its accompanying materials were sufficient according to the logistics team's preparations. If successful, we would be able to better receive the technology from the world of The Wandering Earth. This plan could be deemed perfect. It could test the level of mutual understanding between both parties and also provide clarity. After all, it concerned everything about their world. Being well prepared, Fang Jing immediately took the book and headed to the disinfection room. In the world of The Wandering Earth, at the 710 Institute, in the original interrogation room, Zhou Weirong had already gotten used to Fang Jing's sudden appearance. You're just in time. My father was here yesterday, Zhou Weirong said with a smile. Noticing the book in Fang Jing's hand with a hint of curiosity in his eyes. He has already come. Tap, tap, tap. Sure enough, wearing a dark-colored Zhongshan suit. Zhou Zhizhi walked into the room after a while. Xiao Fang, long time no see. Zhou Zhizhi looked a bit weary from travel, but he was still very happy to see Fang Jing. Zhou Lao, long time no see, Fang Jing replied, and then placed the book on the table. What is this? Zhou Zhizhi's gaze sharpened as he saw the 4 Chinese characters on the cover. The Wandering Earth? Realizing something, Zhou Zhizhi furrowed his brows and fixed his gaze on Fang Jing. Isn't the mountain-moving plan about constructing a planetary engine to push Earth out of the solar system towards the neighboring star system? Although the plan hasn't been officially named yet, the Wandering Earth is certainly one of the candidates. What is this? Fang Jing replied seriously. This is a novel that was published in our world in July 2007, titled The Wandering Earth. Zhou Zhizhi's pupils dilated as he slowly reached out his somewhat frail hand to pick up the book and casually flipped through a few pages. The more he flipped, the more incredulous his expression became. If I'm not mistaken, Xiao Fang's world is now in 2023? That's right, Zhou Lao. After reading this novel, what do you think? Fang Jing nodded. It's too similar. Zhou Zhizhi glanced at a few pages and slowly closed the book. He slightly closed his eyes and gently said, From your tone, Xiao Fang, does that mean there is more? Indeed, in our world, there have been 2 science fiction movies. Fang Jing paused and formally continued. They are both titled The Wandering Earth, and coincidentally, one of the characters is named Zhou Zhizhi. No wonder when you first saw me, your expression was a bit off. Zhou Zhizhi recalled Fang Jing's shocked expression during their first meeting. At that time, he had some doubts, but now, upon hearing Fang Jing reveal the truth, he completely understood. It turned out that he was a character in the movie from Fang Jing's world. However, Zhou Zhizhi, being an experienced politician, quickly calmed the shock in his heart. After all, for them, that was a movie, but for their own reality, it was a concrete truth. What do you mean, a character from a movie? However, Zhou Weirong beside him did not have such composure. He stared in shock at his father, while taking the book and examining it closely. Gradually, as he read the setting of the opening, his pupils suddenly constricted. When he saw terms like helium flash and planetary engine construction, combined with the fact that this novel was published in 2007, Zhou Weirong felt all the strength leave his body and sat back down in his seat, looking disillusioned with the world. So, what exactly is going on in their world? How can I trust what you are saying? Zhou Zhizhi was not so easily convinced and instead, with a sharp gaze, questioned Fang Jing. Fang Jing, unafraid, locked eyes with the elder. What he said was all factual. In fact, he had anticipated that anyone normal would question it, so he was well prepared. Fang Jing's voice was low and, staring at Zhou Zhizhi's increasingly authoritative eyes, he said lightly, In the 1980s, a strange prophecy was received in a certain country, with the time node set for 2044. After hearing Fang Jing's first sentence, Zhou Zhizhi's eyes widened. This was a top secret of that country. In the 1980s, specifically in 1987, a space research institute received an unknown message concerning 2044. At that time, many secret scholars racked their brains but could not figure out what this 2044 referred to. Because it could never be deciphered, this information ultimately became classified. Moreover, the institute underwent several modifications. It is worth mentioning that the institute might sound familiar. Indeed, the current facility for the Wandering Earth transformation, specifically designed for communication with Fang Jing, is the former location of that institute. Very well, I believe you. Upon hearing Fang Jing reveal the secret in one sentence, Zhou Zhizhi completely trusted him. What do we need to exchange for specific information about the Wandering Earth? Zhou Zhizhi paused, calming his unease and astonishment, and gazed into Fang Jing's eyes. The implication was that it would be directly handed over to you. Fang Jing smiled slightly and reached into his pocket. Hey! Zhou Zhizhi waved his hand, shook his head, took a deep breath, and calmly looked at Fang Jing, saying, We are still in the stage of building strategic mutual trust. This information is too important and significant for us. How about this? Saying exchange feels too formal. We can temporarily provide you with technical support. The world Fang Jing belonged to had indeed not advanced to the level of their world. To foster a good relationship, Zhou Zhizhi decided to take the initiative. What technology do you currently need? On the other side, Fang Jing was pleasantly surprised by Zhou Zheji's words. Clearing his throat, Fang Jing exchanged pleasantries before stating his requirements. What we currently need is related technology about AI. Additionally, we require your assistance in digesting open class B technical materials. All right, I will arrange that. Zhou Zheji nodded slightly. This request is not too excessive. At least it doesn't require opening sensitive technical information. And both parties have maintained a consistent understanding. By the way, there's one piece of information I would like you to verify. Did a blue-tailed meteor streak across the sky yesterday? Fang Jing did not forget about Zhu Lao's experiment and immediately added, Ronger, go ask the information department. Zhou Zhe directly assigned this task to Zhou Weirong. Zhou Weirong promptly accepted the order and left the room. Hee, Xiaofang, pleasant cooperation. After discussing the main business, a kind smile appeared on Zhou Zhe's face as he extended his right hand and inquired amiably, give me a hint. Does the movie's ending match the novel? Pleasant cooperation. Fang Jing shook hands with Zhou Lao, smiled back, and responded, the movie hasn't reached its ending yet, but there are some significant issues in the novel. You'll understand once you take a look. Zhou Zhe nodded upon hearing this and quietly began reading the novel The Wandering Earth. To Fang Jing, it seemed quite strange. The Zhou Zhe in the movie was reading the novel The Wandering Earth. Spoiler alert. However, Fang Jing dared not treat this world as a cinematic one. At least from his interactions, Zhou Zhe and Zhou Weirong were very much alive. Zhou Lao was indeed reading. The original novel of The Wandering Earth was quite short. It didn't take long for him to finish it. After reading, Zhou Zhe fell into a long sigh. Although they had gone through many ups and downs, at least they were on their way. Not bad. Humanity still has a future. Fang Jing chimed in, somewhat comforting Zhou Zhe. Zhou Zhe nodded, seemingly deep in thought. Then there was a period of silence. Clearly, he was processing the content he had just read. After a while, Zhou Weirong returned. How did it go? Fang Jing asked with some anticipation. No, I checked with the National Astronomical Observation platforms, and there were no meteors that met the criteria yesterday. Zhou Weirong shook his head. All right, thank you. Fang Jing felt a bit disappointed, but the chances of success were inherently low, so he didn't dwell on it. All right, since that's the case, let's start the transaction. Zhou Zhe directly handed a USB drive that Zhou Weirong had suddenly passed over, smiling slightly, and reminded, since you know about the matters of the 710 Institute, I can only advise you to avoid it. We have only accessed it while offline, so please rest assured. Fang Jing nodded upon hearing this and vanished in an instant. The next moment, when he reappeared, he was holding another book. The Wandering Earth, Concept Art Collection. Next, I'll go report back and won't disturb you in your reading. Fang Jing smiled slightly, exchanged with Zhou Zhe, and after receiving the USB drive, disappeared from the spot once again. Mission accomplished. In the world of The Wandering Earth, Zhou Zhe finished reading The Wandering Earth, Concept Art Collection, and remained silent for a long time. He murmured, so, you were born from the 710 Institute. In the future, will we inevitably have to confront each other? With the initiative in our hands, we certainly won't follow your pace. A soft chuckle escaped his lips as Zhou Zhe closed the book and took out a lighter, gently igniting it. Human society harbors moss. This idea resides in his mind, safer than anywhere else. After reading this book, Zhou Zheji's resolve regarding his plan grew even stronger. It seems that the isolation plan needs to be carried out more discreetly and subtly. However, during this period, it could be utilized to garner support from humanity for the mountain-moving project. In the interrogation room, small flames flickered. Zhou Weirong had already been sent out. In the entire interrogation room, only Zhou Zheji remained. He quietly watched the whole book turn to ashes, his expression gradually becoming resolute. Unity comes at a cost. And perhaps this is also an opportunity for us. The sound grew fainter until the flames burned out completely. Only then did he slowly stand up and walk towards the door. Father. Zhou Weirong, waiting outside, noticed that his father had not brought anything out, which puzzled him. Ronger. From today onwards, no electronic devices are allowed to enter the 710 Institute, and taking anything out from here is strictly prohibited. Understood. Although puzzled, Zhou Weirong immediately nodded in acknowledgement. All right, I'll be leaving now. The scientists they need will arrive shortly. After giving a few instructions, Zhou Zheji left. His departure was to prepare for the crisis of 2044. With 8 years to go, he believed he could minimize the impact under his guidance. At this moment, he had no more concerns in his heart. His plan would surely succeed. Meanwhile, Fang Jing returned to the base and received good news. An agreement had been reached with a civilian company regarding a degraded version of the battery technology from the Wandering Earth project. The Northern Industrial Group, which holds the patent for the battery technology, established a subsidiary dedicated to battery production, named Multidimensional Era. Multidimensional Era had secretly negotiated with leading electric vehicle companies in the region, such as BYD. It was decided that Multidimensional Era would provide specialized batteries to several companies. The era of electric vehicles is rapidly approaching. With the support of this core energy battery, the industrial chain in the region would completely shatter the old era of fuel vehicles. This is a war. The goal is to seize the automotive supply chain from the established players and bring it into the hands of the region. Tomorrow, the launch event for the new electric vehicle will sound the horn for this battle. Chapter 27. Directly slapping down fuel vehicles in this universe. On the evening of August 1st, Lin Ran finished work, feeling quite conflicted. After several years of hard work, he finally had some assets. Perhaps out of envy for his colleagues, or perhaps feeling that his driver's license shouldn't go to waste, he decided to buy a car of his own. However, he was still hesitant. Should he buy a fuel vehicle or an electric vehicle? Recently, electric vehicles have gained significant momentum, but the issue of range was concerning. Lin Ran's hometown is 900 kilometers away, and if he drives back, the electric car would need to be charged midway. It's manageable on regular days, but during holidays, wouldn't that be a problem? Yet, the experience of driving an electric vehicle is indeed superior to that of a fuel vehicle. This left him in a dilemma. He was browsing various car reviews on his phone, hoping to find one that he liked. As he was scrolling through the evaluations, a piece of news suddenly made him sit up straight. Breaking news. Positive developments for the public. A major industrial group has decentralized exoskeleton battery technology, establishing a new company and collaborating with major domestic car manufacturers to prepare for the release of a civilian version of the battery. According to the president of the industrial group, this is a groundbreaking battery that utilizes new technology, significantly extending the range of electric vehicles. He declared that this initiative is in response to national carbon neutrality goals, fully promoting the replacement of gasoline vehicles with electric ones. Moreover, tomorrow, their first electric vehicle in collaboration with a certain company will be unveiled. This news was impossible for Lin Ran to ignore. He had seen news about exoskeletons before and knew that they heavily rely on battery technology. Previously, he had thought to himself that if this battery were used in electric vehicles, it would be incredible. And now, just a few days later, the battery technology was decentralized. This was fantastic. He couldn't wait for tomorrow's press conference to see the new battery. Lin Ran had considered the safety of the new battery. However, thinking about the fact that this technology was adapted from military exoskeletons, he immediately felt reassured. After all, if the military personnel could use it without fear, what was there to worry about? It wasn't like the unreliable technology from certain other countries. At the same time, this news quickly climbed to trending status within minutes. Netizens below were expressing their excitement, curious about just how impressive this decentralized battery technology could be. After all, it was a battery designed for exoskeleton armor. It should be quite remarkable. Time flew by, and the live broadcast of the press conference started the next evening. The president of the collaborating company stepped onto the stage. To his left was an electric vehicle concealed by a curtain. Thanks to the support of the new company, we have successfully produced an electric vehicle using the new battery technology. With a confident smile, he paused slightly and joked. When the representatives from the industrial group first approached us, we were terrified, thinking we had done something wrong. But it turned out to be a windfall. No, it's not just a windfall. It's like a mother's love. Laughter erupted among the attendees. A mother's love? That can only be the love from our motherland. He assured everyone that this motherly love was substantial enough to be the key piece in completely eliminating gasoline vehicles. He waved his hand vigorously. His final words were almost a shout. Upon hearing him, there was a brief silence in the audience, followed by an explosive reaction. The attendees were shocked. Although the trend for electric vehicles was indeed strong, gasoline vehicles still held a substantial market share due to their significant shortcomings. In this context, for him to say that this battery was the key to eliminating gasoline vehicles felt somewhat arrogant, didn't he? Meanwhile, viewers in the live chat were equally stunned. This seems impossible. At least until now, I haven't seen any signs of electric vehicles completely replacing fuel vehicles. I think this person must be a bit tipsy, bragging without any preparation. With the current level of electric vehicles, they expect to eliminate fuel cars. It's laughable. Although I have high hopes for electric vehicles, this claim is indeed a bit exaggerated. Everyone, this is a new battery for exoskeletons. If this electric vehicle can achieve a range of 1,000 kilometers, how can fuel vehicles compete? With fuel prices? The person upstairs has lost it. 1,000 kilometers. What a dream. Clearly, most people in the live stream don't really believe it. Many hold a skeptical attitude. On stage, Chen Hanyuan noticed that the audience was buzzing with discussion, realizing he had achieved his goal of energizing the atmosphere. So he quickly gestured for silence. Everyone must be curious why I am so confident, and what gives me this confidence. Why do I say this is the key puzzle piece for electric vehicles to completely eliminate fuel cars? Chen Hanyuan looked at the quiet crowd with curiosity and took a step back. At the same time, he pressed the button in his hand. This is our confidence. With the support of new battery technology, vehicles of the same size can achieve a range of 2,000 kilometers. A huge number appeared on the screen behind him. 2,000 kilometers. Wow. I initially thought anything over 500 kilometers was impressive, but this data is astonishing. Whose achievement is this? 2,000 kilometers could blow fuel vehicles out of the water. Chen Hanyuan is not exaggerating this time. The era of electric vehicles has truly arrived. Once the number of 2,000 kilometers was revealed, everyone in the live stream and on-site was stunned. How about that? This gift from mom. Is it impressive enough to shock you? Seeing the atmosphere rising, Chen Hanyuan immediately pushed further. He spoke with enthusiasm, arms wide open, his face filled with excitement. With this push, the atmosphere reached a climax. You must know that ordinary civilian fuel vehicles have a range of only about 700 kilometers. This electric vehicle has directly achieved a range of 2,000 kilometers. This completely leaves no room for fuel cars. The claim to eliminate fuel vehicles is not just empty talk. If this range is real, fuel vehicles would be at a loss. How to look at this? This is more than just a gift from mom. It's as if mom couldn't stand it any longer and came down to make a big impact. So, what do you think of such an electric vehicle? Without needing to discuss other configurations, just this range is enough. Chen Hanyuan leaned slightly forward, asking the car enthusiasts present. Excited. Hurry up, bring it out. Wow. Don't keep us in suspense, just show it. Ha ha ha. I can already hear the impatience in the audience. Chen Hanyuan smiled, placing his hand on the curtain. Before we unveil it, let us first thank the technical support from a multi-dimensional era. With that, the curtain was pulled back. A sci-fi styled electric vehicle, pristine white and majestic, was revealed to everyone. At the same time, the vehicle's price also appeared on the big screen. Chapter 28. I want to live to see the day of the space fleet 17,700. At this price, using this type of battery, it can only be said, it will sell out. The entire venue fell silent for a second before erupting. The live stream was flooded with comments. It's going to sell out. This battery S price ISNT even reflected. This is incredible. In the rebirth, I have a great mother from a powerful nation. It's going to sell out. I was still hesitating, but now it's an impulsive buy. Upstairs one. If this car doesn't outdo the fuel vehicles, what is the justice in that? When will it be released? Chen Hanyuan had anticipated the reaction at the scene, so he was not surprised. Once the venue quieted down, he smirked and continued. I know everyone is shocked by this motherly love, and of course, I was even more shocked when I got the battery for testing. Now, Multidimensional Era has already collaborated with most of our country's car manufacturers. Furthermore, there has been a directive issued to accelerate the plan for fully phasing out fuel vehicles. Chen Hanyuan opened his arms in a gesture of embrace and declared, Congratulations everyone. We officially enter the electric vehicle era. The last segment of the press conference for the new car, which surpassed others, went viral online. The entire internet was aware that a new era for electric vehicles had begun. When the news reached international circles, on that very day, stocks of international oil companies plummeted by 2,000 points. The stock market experienced a tremendous shock, leaving several oil-producing countries in disbelief. The representatives from an oil-rich nation contacted the powerful nation to inquire about the situation. How could such a revolutionary battery just appear out of nowhere? After confirming the existence of the battery and learning that the powerful nation would only supply domestically in the coming years, the two oil-exporting countries breathed a sigh of relief. Of course, their relief was only temporary. Now, both nations felt more urgency, especially the one that relied heavily on oil sales. Without oil, what would they do? In this scenario, both countries quickly communicated and shut down nearly 90% of their oil extraction points. On the following day, international oil prices skyrocketed by 200%. Moreover, there was no trend of decline. Thus, the next day, oil stocks rebounded. After all, while that battery was indeed impressive, it wouldn't be available from the powerful nation for several years. During this time gap, both countries sought to make as much profit as possible to facilitate industrial transitions. To this end, the oil-rich nation took more drastic measures, blowing up several oil wells. Meanwhile, to avoid excessive price hikes that could attract unwanted attention, they announced their willingness for military bases to be built by their allies and welcomed nuclear forces to be stationed there. The other nation, already aligned with them in oil sales, readily agreed. Within just one day, military supplies were dispatched to the Middle East. Naval vessels from the powerful nation also docked in the Red Sea. All three parties acted swiftly, leaving others stunned when they finally reacted. Wait, are you three in cahoots? The international situation was shifting dramatically, and domestically, technology was advancing at an unbelievable pace. At the Xishan base, in the underground section, Fang Jing looked curiously at the mechanical dog in front of him. Brother Zhao, is this mechanical dog using AI technology from a certain well-known film? That's right. Zhao Guangyao replied, lowering his voice slightly as he observed the mechanical dog. The technology on the other side is quite advanced, and it overlaps significantly with our original technology. After we digest and absorb it, we can use it directly. He continued, it's said that this mechanical dog is specifically designed for urban warfare. With exoskeleton arm technology and advanced AI control, this mechanical dog is extremely agile. With its 4 mechanical legs, it moved swiftly, and before Fang Jing could react, it dashed in front of him with a series of clicks. The speed was something Fang Jing couldn't keep up with. It was reminiscent of the terrifying robots from a classic strategy game. Fang Jing's pupils constricted sharply. He silently mourned for any enemy soldiers who might encounter it. Additionally, he noticed that while it was running, the structure on its back remained oriented in the same direction. Urban warfare, so this can be modified into a weapon? Fang Jing nodded in understanding. The balancing structure on its back was designed to maintain stability while running. That's right, Zhao Guangyao added. It can identify enemies, open fire, launch surprise attacks, go upstairs, and clear rooms. This mechanical dog can do it all. Reflecting on the mechanical dog's impressive capabilities, Zhao Guangyao remarked. This mechanical dog can completely handle urban warfare on its own. The AI control system from that world is just too powerful. No, the technology on the other side is simply too strong. If we were to replace the current forces with this mechanical dog, sending out thousands of them, the enemy would be completely overwhelmed. Fang Jing had also seen military test videos. In those videos, several mechanical dogs worked in tandem with drones, easily taking out ambushed soldiers in buildings. It was a complete dimensional strike. The drones would rush in, self-destructing upon encountering enemies, while simultaneously relaying information to the mechanical dogs. After analyzing the data, the mechanical dogs would quickly launch an assault, bursting into hiding spots and opening fire indiscriminately. Finally, soldiers would enter to handle the battlefield. The entire operation was seamless, leaving the enemy soldiers no chance to resist. Caught completely off guard, they were swiftly eliminated. Impressive, Fang Jing exclaimed with delight. This is a good thing. The stronger we are, the fewer casualties our people will face in future conflicts. Absolutely, Zhao Guangyao said, his smile unwavering. These unmanned devices are actively integrating with exoskeleton armor to maximize combat effectiveness. He patted Fang Jing on the shoulder, encouragingly. These changes are closely tied to your contributions. Our nation is becoming stronger, and once we fully digest the technology from that world, we will truly be able to venture into the cosmos. Hey, I used to laugh at my son for watching animations and talking about how our journey is towards the stars and the sea. I never expected that in my old age, this could actually become a reality in my generation. Fang Jing deeply resonated with Zhao Guangyao's sentiments. Recently, the changes had indeed been monumental. However, his mindset is very good. As long as these changes are beneficial, that's enough. So, Fang Jing chuckled with Zhao Guangyao and joked. Brother Zhao, there will be even bigger changes in the future. By next year, who knows, we might even be able to travel to the moon. Haha, maybe. If all goes well, we could land on the moon within this year and start building a lunar base in the first half of the year. Zhao Guangyao clicked his tongue and commented, the mediocre technology here is surprisingly effective. If we had top-tier technology, wouldn't that mean we could build a space elevator? If a space elevator is completed, not only would traveling to the moon be easy, but going to Mars would also be a piece of cake. Wow, speaking of this, I really wish I could live a few more years to see the solar fleet of our country. Just thinking about that scene gets my blood boiling and makes me excited. Chapter 29. The situation is critical. In a certain country, within the presidential office, Fred felt incredibly unlucky. Why did it have to be during his term that signs emerged indicating that another country was surpassing them? And this wasn't just in one or two areas, it was in many. Moon landing, electric vehicles, exoskeletons. To him, these weren't just three types of technology. They represented aerospace, livelihood, and military. Their advancements in these three areas were being surpassed. Clyde, you have successfully saved yourself. Looking at the pale-faced man in front of him, Fred narrowed his eyes. My vote's Haven T decreased, yet due to the other party's actions. However, a more dangerous situation has arisen. Mr. President, I understand. But this is no longer my issue. Clyde was silent for a moment before speaking softly. The issue of technology has never been my responsibility. I know that. Fred suddenly got angry, questioning Clyde, and shouted, but do you have no information about these technologies at all? Are they just appearing out of thin air? Clyde remained silent. The Congress allocates so much money every year, and you don't even have a hint about these technologies? Fred was furious. At the same time, he felt a sense of helplessness. Concealment cannot last long. With the rapid pace of development on the other side, it won't be hidden for long. They will soon be exposed in front of the public. What to do? This is an urgent issue. It can't continue like this. Action must be taken. Or I will become a scapegoat. Fred's gaze hardened. It can't go on like this. A choice must be made. If we allow this country to continue developing like this, they will eventually surpass us. This is something that a country used to being the world leader absolutely cannot accept. Clyde, get in touch with the space agency. We need to have a serious talk. What do you mean? Clyde frowned, not quite understanding the president's intention. Humph. Fred sneered, raising his voice to scold. Don't think I don't know how much funding they usually cut back on projects. The audit plane I sent to the Middle East just happened to be destroyed by a terrorist missile. Tell them that the lunar return program should be launched immediately. They need to have the rocket ready for me as soon as possible, at least within this year, or they can expect trouble from me. In August, nothing significant happened. No, the biggest news was the successful launch of the Storm 9's remote secondary mission. This news excited many people. This success means that Storm 9 will proceed to launch an unmanned test vehicle. The unmanned test vehicle is the unmanned version of the crewed lunar lander, serving as a safety verification step. A total of 2 launches are planned. The first will be completely unmanned, orbiting the moon and returning. The second will carry animals, also orbiting the moon and returning. Only then will there be a crewed mission. Therefore, there are still 2 launches before the first crewed lunar landing. 2. Given the current frequency of launches, it's quite possible that this feat could be accomplished within the year. This is something all citizens are looking forward to. Of course, Fang Jing is even more eager. He is very curious about what changes will occur in the machine within his consciousness after a successful base establishment on the moon. In September, nothing significant happened either. The tests for the unmanned spacecraft and the animal spacecraft for Storm 9 were both successfully conducted this month. It can be said that the crewed lunar landing is now just a step away. Even a well-known British newspaper commented, there is no doubt that they have reached the doorstep of the moon. They just need to kick the door open to claim it as their territory. Such a sarcastic tone was naturally enjoyable for the citizens. Ha ha ha, is Britain feeling sour? Don't be so direct. After all, their ancestors were quite prosperous, right? The empire on which the sun never sets? The sun has set, hasn't he it? This tone is even more sour than that of certain other nations. I can smell the lemons all the way in East Asia. Ha ha. Even John Bull has come to this. Various netizens have taken to mocking the sourness of the once great empire. Aside from these events, another significant matter is that the nation is still digesting and learning from the grade C technology of the wandering Earth. Even with the help of scientists from across the way, the abundance of advanced knowledge has left the nation somewhat overwhelmed. They are currently struggling to digest it. The process of digestion means pausing all projects for now. After all, they don't want the products of these projects to be outdated as soon as they are completed. That would be a waste of investment, right? If they're going to do it, they want to do it right and use the best new technologies. They are ready to upgrade significantly. However, peaceful days are always short-lived. As October arrives, a brutal war for homeland defense suddenly erupts in the Middle East, capturing the attention of the entire world. The reason is the oppression faced for 60 years, leading to a fight for survival. Yet, the disparity in strength makes this resistance heart-wrenching to watch. The scenes from the battlefield and the various tragedies have circulated on the internet. This war has made more people in the country realize that the saying is indeed true. There is no such thing as a peaceful life, but rather, there are people bearing the burden for us to move forward. A 12-year-old child, when faced with a question from a war correspondent, gave a response that is heart-wrenching. When asked what he wants to do when he grows up, the interviewed child answered with a vacant gaze. Here, we won't live to see that day. How heartbreaking those words are. This is the tragedy of a small nation. These videos and information constantly remind everyone that the world remains one where the strong prey on the weak. If you lag behind, you will be bullied. Fang Jing, in the base, also saw that news and felt a lump in his throat after reading it. It is true. The continuous suppression from certain countries and their allies aims to make our nation suffer like it did a century ago, allowing us to be humiliated and endure hardships. Fortunately, this is not 100 years ago. My wish is for everyone in the country to be happy and free from suffering. For our nation to stand tall among the nations of the world, and even among the races of the universe. With a determined gaze, Fang Jing looked at the map of the solar system, focusing on the planet Mars next to Earth. This was a dream he had in his childhood. How wonderful it would be to transform Mars into a habitable planet and move there. This was once a dream, but now, with the mysterious machine he possesses and the ability to connect with the wandering universe, it is no longer just a dream. What does the wandering Earth have? Refusion technology. If he can use this technology to transform Mars's environment to make it suitable for habitation, then he plans to relocate everyone from his nation to Mars. To become an interstellar nation, the first step is to completely leave the home planet. However, for other countries on Earth, Fang Jing feels selfish. Once his nation adopts the wandering Earth technology, its development will be rapid, very rapid. The blending of cultures and languages will take hundreds or even thousands of years to achieve. His nation cannot afford to wait. Therefore, he is preparing to develop on two fronts simultaneously. He will allow the people on Earth to continue blending with the culture of his nation while they set out on their journey. As pioneers, they will venture into the universe and step into deep space. Chapter 30. All crowded together, a narrow path meets. In October, across the ocean, a significant event caught the attention of the public. Their president, Fred, delivered a televised address. He solemnly announced that his country would accelerate the progress of the lunar return program, starting today. We are doing this precisely because it is filled with challenges. With a serious expression, Fred faced the camera, his gaze resolute, and with an excited wave of his hand, he declared loudly, 60 years ago, we successfully landed on the moon, faster than that red giant. We took the first half step towards the starry sky on behalf of humanity. Unfortunately, due to various reasons, we have been stagnant since then. We have no intention of exploring those reasons now. When I was a child, I looked up at the sky and gazed at the moon, whispering to myself, we will definitely go back, we will surely return. Ladies and gentlemen, we will return to the moon, make our nation great again, and let the light of democracy shine across the globe. Fred is very skilled at giving speeches. After listening to his address, the public was invigorated. We are going back to the moon. We are still the world's leading nation. As for that country across the way, even if they succeed, so what? They were the first to land on the moon, and that was 60 years ago. 60 years ago. They must still be picking fruit from trees. After Fred's speech was broadcast, his approval rating increased by 10 percentage points. Hilarious. It's not just the approval rating that has risen, aerospace stocks have also gone up. Fred truly believes he is a genius. This maneuver not only reversed his reputation, but also revived the stock market. Your Excellency, I must remind you, Ilarial said with a worried expression. The SLS-2 rocket is not yet ready. Our progress is already slower than that of a certain country. If we modify the safety procedures now, our launch could be very dangerous. Before finishing his sentence, Ilarial's meaning was clear. If we hastily speed up the process and something goes wrong, the backlash will be even more severe. No, I am not worried at all. I know our aerospace technology better than anyone. With our strength, there is absolutely no problem. Gesturing confidently, Fred's face was filled with assurance. Ilarial, you just need to launch the rocket on time. Remember, we must send our astronauts to the moon before that country does. Fred stated decisively, pointing at Ilarial. Do you understand? Are you the one who understands everything? What do you even understand? Your Excellency, this concerns the lives of astronauts. It is not. Ilarial prepared to argue. Shut up and do as I say, Ilarial. Fred shouted angrily, as if someone had stepped on his tail. I understand, Your Excellency, Ilarial said, feeling indignant. But seeing the president's firm stance, he could only comply. After speaking with the president, Ilarial walked out of the office. Once outside, he looked at the sky and sighed deeply. Worried. To skip the animal orbital tests and send humans directly. Isn't that just gambling? Speaking of gambling, he couldn't help but recall that once red giant. In aerospace, it seemed they were following in the footsteps of their counterpart. To compete with them, they started to abandon everything and gamble with the lives of astronauts. The probability of something going wrong is too high. Alas, may God favor our nation and wish us good luck. At the same time, news of a crewed lunar spacecraft launch scheduled for the end of November made headlines around the world. Crowds in certain regions were cheering, as if their beacon had returned. However, those in the know were taken aback and silently mourned for the astronauts for a few seconds. Is the current state of the spacecraft suitable for human flight? Are they in such a rush? Isn't this a gamble with lives? In aerospace engineering, such risks are a major taboo. Even with a mature new rocket that has complete experimental data, safety verification processes are strictly followed. They haven't even completed the necessary preliminary lunar experiments and are going straight for it. Isn't this putting the astronauts in jeopardy? This made some in charge hesitant. In the conference room, Director Zhang Xiaoming, somewhat helpless, opened the projector and explained, "The launch date announced over there is November 12th, while our planned date was November 13th. The launch window in November coincidentally falls on the 12th and 13th. This overlap is quite awkward. What's more awkward is that they haven't even disclosed the time. It's as if we were caught off guard, and they beat us to announcing the date. November 13th is just a day away," said Zhu, furrowing his brow. "This is troublesome. How did this happen? Should we wait for the next launch window on December 1st? Zhang Xiaoming thought that delaying would be fine. If they were in such a hurry, let them go ahead. After all, the title of first lunar landing is already theirs. Regardless, they could still aim for second place. Why wait? We should stick to November 13th and focus on completing our research this year." Zhu snorted. "Let them be. We can't change the planned launch on the 13th just because they did. That would be conceding." He insisted that since the date was initially set for the 13th, they would launch then. "I'll prepare the press release." Zhang Xiaoming, excited by this decision, nodded. He actually didn't want to change the date. He only raised the question because others felt it unnecessary. But with Zhu's backing, the decision was made. The launch date would remain unchanged. They would stand firm and proceed with the launch on the 13th. At the same time, the country officially announced the timing for the crewed lunar spacecraft flight, November 13th. This news, combined with the earlier announcements, truly caught everyone by surprise. Online, the comment sections exploded with excitement. Wow, this is a real showdown, just one day apart. It felt strangely familiar, reminiscent of a past era. Was it the Cold War? The space race? It certainly had that vibe. The person upstairs has made a point. But this time the situation is different. With the SLS rocket looking like that, I can't help but doubt that it might end up like the previous case. Launching something unexpected. Let's send our blessings to the astronauts involved. Amen. 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 Those upstairs should refrain from cursing others. I see a good chance of success for them. Why the pessimism? Is it jealousy? What's going on in their minds? If they had bothered to learn about the lunar landing experiments, they wouldn't be defending the status quo. Looking at the plans, they clearly had experiments planned for this year, including lunar orbit and animal experiments, but those were all scrapped in favor of sending humans directly. It's hard to assess the situation. I can only say that rushing can lead to mistakes. I can smell failure approaching. Chapter 31. Concerns of the astronauts this year is destined to be unforgettable. The Prime Minister of a certain nation stepped forward, similar to the famous Churchill, as two major powers simultaneously announced their manned space programs and shared their views. We noticed a familiar sense of fear creeping in. Is another Iron Curtain about to rise? And this time, can we overcome our adversaries? This lunar landing competition may reveal some clues. The entire Western world views the upcoming lunar missions of these two nations as a space race. This struggle is unique to them. The other 200 countries in the world are merely spectators. As November arrives, both nations' rockets are positioned on the launch pads, undergoing pre-launch checks and preparations. As the launch date approaches, the atmosphere worldwide grows increasingly tense. Humanity is about to begin exploring extraterrestrial bodies again, which is a promising start. However, with politics involved, the echoes of past Cold War scenarios are vividly present. At the base in the Western Mountains, Fang Jing finds himself unusually busy. He is about to undergo 3 months of astronaut training. Yes, Fang Jing will be training as an astronaut. According to the analysis from above, the machine has conveyed a message. Come to the moon, land on the moon, and establish a lunar base. Fang Jing's personal participation may be necessary for the lunar landing part. Therefore, to be cautious, Zhu suggested that Fang Jing complete his training first. And after the lunar base is built, they would assess the situation. If there is a response once the lunar base is complete, then there would be no need for further complications. But if there is no response, then Fang Jing might just have to take a trip. Yay, yay, yay. Off to the moon, to be an astronaut. Fang Jing shouted excitedly as he walked towards the training room. I envied him so much that I wanted to hit him. The strong man Zhou Yuan shook his hand in envy. Sun Wang, Wu Shi, and the others also cast envious glances. After all, it's a trip to the moon. To another celestial body, albeit a satellite, but this experience could be bragged about for a lifetime. When drinking with old friends later, while others share their travel stories, he would say he went to the moon. You know, I just visited the moon not long ago, and it was absolutely amazing. This guy has been showing off lately. The tall man, Zhou Yuan, was feeling annoyed and decided to play a little prank on Fang Jing, reminding him to be mindful of the feelings of his old teammates after getting a little too cocky. After training for 2 hours, Fang Jing returned to the resting area. Zhou Yuan took the opportunity to sneak up from behind, grabbing Fang Jing's shoulders and lifting him up with force. Hey, Zhou Ge, what are you doing? Fang Jing was startled and turned around to see Zhou Yuan. But seeing the mischievous grin on his face gave Fong Jing an uneasy feeling. Ha ha ha, here we go. Let us see how your training has been, the tall man yelled, swinging Fong Jing around in the air. Fong Jing's head spun in circles. After putting Fong Jing down, Zhou Yuan immediately took off running. Why stay here to get hit? Running is way more fun. Don't run. Fong Jing got into the game too, letting out a shout and grabbing a training stick to chase after him. He jabbed at Zhou Yuan's back whenever he got close. Oh, you little brat. Using a weapon. You're sneaky, go ahead and use it. Seeing the two of them chase each other with seemingly endless energy, the four people nearby couldn't help but laugh. Indeed, Zhou Yuan's personality and Fong Jing's were a perfect match. On November 12th, at a space launch site, all eyes were on the event. 3 astronauts, dressed in their suits, were on their way to board the spacecraft. Mont, we will come back safely, right? Astronaut Peter asked anxiously, looking at the dark sky beside him. When he asked this question, Captain Mont already knew that Peter had no confidence. Peter, at least the first flight of the SLS rocket was successful, even though it faced many difficulties. We have to believe Mont sighed. Although he spoke words of encouragement to uplift his teammate, the despair in his eyes showed that he felt the same way as Peter. Their rocket's preparation tests had not been fully completed. This was a risk. In order to keep up with the progress of a certain major country, those shameless politicians had forcibly pulled them out. This was a gamble with their lives conducted by those politicians. Captain, stop saying things you don't believe in. The third crew member, Bonjeri, sighed. He was a black man who pulled out a photo from his pocket, gently touching the face of an elderly woman in it, choking back tears as he whispered, Mom, your son might perish in space. But don't be sad, Mom. Your son knows the risks but still doesn't back down because he doesn't want to live as a coward. I will stand by my beloved career, even if it means dying in space. Remember, this is not my wish. It's the despicable scheme of those politicians. Those damn politicians. By the end, Bonjeri lost his composure and began to curse. Bonjeri's words undoubtedly tore open the scars in Monty and Peter's hearts. Indeed, everyone in the space agency, from top to bottom, knew that this launch was dangerous. Everyone was aware, yet the three of them still had to step forward. They had to take on the role of adventurers. The instability of the spacecraft, coupled with the astronauts' emotional turbulence, meant that this launch mission was destined to be shrouded in the shadow of failure. Eventually, the three of them walked heavily to the boarding area. Under the cameras of the media, the staff waiting at the boarding area maintained smiles. They appeared to be full of confidence. However, in Monty's eyes, he could see the pity in these people's eyes. Yes, pity for the three of them. They all knew that this launch was far from safe, fraught with problems. Pity smiles. Monty suddenly felt a sense of irony. Something in his heart shattered into pieces. He did not linger in front of the cameras, but quickly entered the cabin. Along the way, the three of them remained very silent. Peter, Bonjeri. Thank you for your company. Monty suddenly smiled, feeling relieved. Monty, it's a pleasure working with you. Let's wish US, and that country in the East, good luck. Peter also laughed and began to fasten his seatbelt. Mom, don't miss me. I'm about to chase my dreams and give my life for it. Bonjeri silently prayed a few words, then laughed heartily, looking at his companions and saying loudly, with you guys here, at least I'm not alone on this journey. The three exchanged glances and laughed together. We are ready. Bring it on, fate and adversaries. Chapter 32. The sound of silence at the launch site in a certain region. Outside the beach, a crowd had gathered, and there was a moment of silence. OMG. FXXK knew. What's happening, Jerry? After a second of silence, a wave of terrified cries erupted. Everyone on the beach was frozen in place. They forgot everything, gazing up in shock, shouting continuously. In the sky, there was only a fireball plummeting down. The rolling fireball, along with massive rocket debris, was falling horizontally. Then, with a thunderous boom, the rocket's wreckage plunged into the sea. Only when the huge curtain of burning fuel slowly descended did the people on the beach react. The launch of the crude lunar rocket had failed. 200 seconds after the rocket launch, the vehicle experienced violent shaking, followed by a burst of flames. The entire rocket exploded, shooting thousands of meters into the air. Subsequently, the whole rocket turned into a fireball in the sky, rapidly descending. This hellish scene left the surrounding crowd in disbelief, as if they were dreaming. Some space enthusiasts covered their heads, wide-eyed, crouching in place, unable to believe it, murmuring softly, impossible, impossible, impossible. How could it fail? How could it fail? Some people have accepted the reality of the launch failure, looking up and frantically asking, where are the astronauts? Did they escape? Oh, on the ground. There are dreamers with their hopes shattered, desperately scrambling. The entire beach is filled with a sense of despair. In the distance, in the command room, Alaric stares blankly at the screen in front of him. Ding ding ding. The phone beside him rings frantically. He knows which foolish leader this is. But at this moment, he doesn't want to answer it anymore. The lunar launch vehicle has failed. How many times did he advise that foolish leader? It was he who insisted on competing with the other side. That bastard has already fallen into the ballot. He has completely lost his mind. Watching the remnants of flames falling from the sky, seeing the fierce fire igniting in the sea, and watching the crowd on the beach covering their heads and howling in despair, Alaric feels deflated, collapsing in his seat. He can already imagine the tsunami of public opinion outside. His future, everything he has, is now at an end. Clenching his fists, Alaric's eyes are filled with rage. And it's all because of that bastard. Damn it. November 12th will become an eternal nightmare across the ocean. When the news reached the other side, the internet fell silent. Normally, if a spacecraft launch fails, it would be met with ridicule. But this time is completely different. This time, 3 astronauts lost their lives. Although they are not from the same country, the spirit of brave exploration and willingness to sacrifice transcends borders. So, rarely, internet users held back their mockery. At least, those 3 astronauts were innocent. It can be said that the leadership and the space agency conspired against their own astronauts. What was said upstairs is correct. This is a man-made disaster. Given the urgent situation of the launch vehicle, I am not surprised by the failure, just lamenting for those 3 astronauts. Let us mourn for the great Mani, Pete, and Bang Jerry, and all the astronauts who sacrificed in the exploration of space. Candle, candle. Respect to all those filled with the spirit of exploration and courage. The internet users on the other side did not pay much